everybody. Thank you for tuning back into Venus Exchange. My name is Leslie, Good Girl Les. And today I am feeling very grateful. I had a very productive day. For those of you who don't know, I'm launching my own business called Healed by Nature, and I just made a very big sale today.
Hey.
So
Very big sale. Nova. Oh, it's on me? Yeah. Hey. What's up, y'all? It's Nova in your aura, and I am feeling very hippie fly fresh today.
Tie-dyed.
Period. Like all blue, but don't got no blues. So.
Oh,
okay, I like that. I was feeling real saucy this morning, so yeah.
What's up? It's Tasia, T2 times. I'm feeling good. I woke up feeling great. Decided to actually get dressed for the world today.
Yes.
So I'm all smiles.
Yay.
I'm 5. I feel good. I'm here. So I'm in the moment.
Awesome. Thank you for coming.
I'm Laura. I'm feeling kind of hyped up today.
Rightfully.
Revolutionary, ready for some change, in a lot of things. So, yeah.
You had us hyped.
Yep.
Sipping the
I was
tea.
making t-shirts.
I'm Alicia, and I'm feeling
Until it's backwards.
real earthy. Okay, I just got a greenhouse for my home, so I don't have to be going to the farm all the time.
Okay.
And I'm just ready to, get into the soil.
did you get one of those grow tents? Or
No. It's it's the greenhouse that's gonna get like hot. I'm gonna use it for a sauna.
okay.
I mean,
Okay.
I'm gonna grow, but I'm gonna be in there like
Okay.
sweating. But yeah, so
But thank you for tuning back in today, and we're going to be discussing bumps and blunts. We're going to be
I love that.
Let me clarify what kind of bumps we're talking about. So we're talking about pregnancy bumps and the usage of marijuana while you are pregnant. So it usually has, a negative thought, negative connotation that comes with it. But we're going to be learning about the possible benefits that it can offer the mother as well as even maybe the child. So, yeah, I'm going to kick it off to our guest so she can go ahead and dive into what we're going to be talking about today.
Oh, and see, that's my name on Instagram. 5 dives in. See, that's what I do. So again, my name is 5, and I am a traditional midwife. I am a naturopath, and I'm also a mother of 8 children. 6 I gave birth to. 2 of those births I had at home. And I am a cannabis activist or advocate. I'm also on hiatus right now, but I teach at the Cleveland School of Cannabis. I have since they have opened, which was in 2017, 2018. So this is a good topic for me because it is what I do. I make cannabis products. I'm a healer. So that make the lemonade. Everybody loves a lemonade. So I'm here for the conversation because it is a taboo topic. People do not like to discuss it. I'm sure when you got the responses online, it was like, what? I want
Y'all
to.
going to jail now.
Right.
That's why I was like, I was sorry to hear. I was wondering, like, is this something that's okay for us to talk about?
Right, y'all
Yeah,
told
like,
on
it's-
yourself.
No.
But I never touched that.
Right.
I'm not speaking from my experience.
Never, right. Everybody wants to say, like, yeah, I know about it.
Yeah.
But it's one of those, it's those conversations that we have to have, right? Because nobody wants to talk about it, but we're doing it behind closed doors. Sometimes we don't know how to do it correctly, especially when we get pregnant, and because we're carrying life. So a lot of people think like we're doing something really wrong when it comes to that, but it is a plant, and some of us are farmers in here. So if you know how to utilize the plants, then you know how to heal yourself. So, and cannabis is one of those things that we use to heal ourselves. And indigenously and traditionally, it is what we use in our practice. So I love that Alicia asked me to come and talk about it because nobody really wants to talk about it.
Right.
I'm on Instagram, and there's probably about 2 other indigenous women that I know that are like cannabis doulas that talk about it. But worldwide, I mean, if they're talking about it, it's behind closed doors too. Yeah. So I'm okay with coming out and being like, here it is, this is what it is. I'm not really afraid of anything. I'm not worried about CPS because we know how to handle them when they come to the door. Because you all have a right, right? We have a right to take care of ourselves. So that's really what we're trying to do. So I'm trying to shed the light on that.
So
all of that is just so heavy because, like, do we have a right to not take care of ourselves? Man, do you right to not wear a mask? They want you to do this. They want you to do that. It's like I'm like, don't get me started.
Do we really have? We don't even have a right to show our faces no more.
No, but we claim our rights. Like, that's our right. We have the right to do whatever we want to
claim
do.
your right.
You have a right to speak up. You have a right to do all the things. We're so conditioned in this society that we live in that they tell you that you don't have rights.
Right.
Or when you walk into somewhere, because if someone comes at you, right, and they are intimidating, all of a sudden we forget our rights, right? But you have to be confident.
Go into that shell. It's almost like child and parent, like that clam. We clam up, but it's
so you got to be confident. You got to know. You got to speak from within, so that you can uphold your rights. That's really what it is. Sure.
Okay, so with that, because it sounds conflicting to some of the responses when I asked people how do they feel about smoking cannabis while pregnant, there was a lot of confliction. Like, people were like, I don't know, I'm conflicted. So let's start with those who
She over on the line, like, I can hear myself.
Right.
I'm turning it down.
So let's start with those who like feel conflicted. Like, do you think they may be conflicted because of the like confusion behind the practice, or what it is?
Well, it starts with the law, right? So it's already illegal. Right, because it's scheduled as a Schedule 1 drug. So on the federal level, it's illegal. So that's where the fear comes in. Because if I'm doing something that's illegal, then here's somebody coming to take my child. Right. So that's the first thing. Then it's like, okay, then when you equate smoking, we think with cigarettes, right? So then we're like, and everybody knows, and I know, that if we're smoking cigarettes, that's absolutely a no-no, right? And because with cigarettes, it's the nicotine. Right? And what people then don't realize is that if you safely do it, you are helping yourself. But we're so afraid of the first two things that we won't help ourselves. So a lot of women will be like, I suffer from hypermesis, where you throw up a lot. And you'll trust the doctor to give you a pill. Right? You won't ask not a question. You'll take it. You'll be like, oh, well, I feel better. Okay, cool. You don't know the side effects. You don't know what it does to the baby. It just made you feel better. And you're like, okay, but they told me it was safe. Right? And they told me they're not going to give me anything that's illegal. Right? So that's really the first fear, is that we look at the law, and because we don't understand it fully, and we go by other people's stories, then that's where the fear is. And then we're carrying a life, so it's like, what am I going to do to the baby, right? What does smoking do to the baby? You've seen all the commercials. You smoke a cigarette, the baby can't breathe, which they cannot. So then you think you're doing some harm to your child, and nobody wants to do that. We don't want to ever put our children, especially our unborn children, at risk. So it's the fear first. Fear was the number one stopper of everything. So until you become educated, or you find other mothers that you're around that do it and see their children, right? Because sometimes we need to see the end product, right? We don't know if we're a first-time mom and we're a cannabis user that our children will be okay on the other end. And a lot of times it's the complications that might happen, or any defects that come. Those are just natural, right? We have to. It's a spiritual process. These are ancestors coming through. So if they come through any kind of other way, that's the way they were supposed to come. But we have this image of a perfect child, and we don't want to go away from that image, right? Instead of just understanding or understanding that the baby's going to come through however they come through, we take care of it how we take care of it, instead of like shunning them away or sending them to a home or whatever it might be. So it's the fear that everybody has to get over first. Yeah.
Okay.
So can we just briefly, for the confused out there, what is the difference between, so I just want clarity. Is all smoke bad? Is nicotine smoke bad? Is marijuana smoke bad? Is smoking a go or a no? Because I got a little lost.
Okay. So first we're going to go with the terminology, right? Always call it cannabis. right? Cannabis is the correct term for it, and it takes away the connotation of marijuana being negative, right?
Yeah.
And they use it as a derogatory term against us. They use that to equate it to the Mexicans, right? That they are on that marijuana and makes them crazy, deranged, and they're rapists, right? So we're going to use cannabis. Yeah, there is history. There's history.
Cannabis instead.
Use cannabis because it's the correct term of that plant, right? So when it comes to smoking it, well, one, there's several ways that you can use it.
Cannabis. So it's like cannabis, hemp.
Nope.
I thought they were like derivatives.
Nope. So if you think of a mint plant, right?
I grow them.
You have, right? So then there's chocolate mint, there's pineapple mint, there's all kinds of different mints.
Yes.
But the plant is still mint, right?
Yes.
The same with cannabis. So you can call it cannabis, you can call it hemp, you can call it marijuana or whatever it is. It's still a plant. It's still all the same plant. The plant has different compounds in it. So the compounds are THC, CBD, THCA, CBG, ABC, DFG, all of those, right? So it's the compounds that are in the plant, right? So when you think about ways to use it, most people use it by smoking, right? So that's okay, right? You really don't want to. I mean, it's the combusting, it's the fumes in your lungs, so it's not maybe the best way when you're pregnant. However, it's how you choose to smoke it. So what we do say, that's okay.
Party foul.
My bad.
So what you do, or what I encourage women, is that if you're going to smoke while you're pregnant, you need to do it cleanly, right?
Okay.
Cleanly means that you're not using nicotine wraps, right?
Okay.
No White Owls, no Swishers, no zigzags, none of that, right? You use papers, or you use hemp papers, or you use your bong. You use a bowl, you use a one-hitter, you use edibles, you use tinctures, you drink lemonade, so that you can have varying ways to get the dosage that you need within your system. But if you're smoking, the one thing I tell people is chuck the White Owls. Chuck the Swishers. I know they might be your favorite. They all taste good. But they're not doing anybody any good. I tell anybody that's a smoker, I don't care if you're a man, woman, whatever, stop smoking out of the Swishers. A lot of people say, I'm addicted to the weed, right? No, you're not. You're addicted to the nicotine.
I say that too. That's funny.
Right?
Yeah.
So when you stop smoking, you take a tolerance break. People are like, oh, I got the shakes. I need to smoke. I need the cannabis. No, you need the nicotine.
That's right there is why I ain't never been high.
Yeah.
I just got these dreams of myself
Having a
looking
shake.
like Chris Rock in
In the middle of the street.
Oh, gotcha. You
never
silly
smoked
man.
No.
Oh, wow.
And you know, when you love the message in the group chat, I was like, oh, she's gonna be down with us today. Like,
Right.
But
But she said out.
I've dated
Is that
men
Nova?
smoke.
Are you drinking lemonade?
No.
She said
She's gonna
wait.
save
I
it
was
for
looking
later.
around like, damn, my lemonade is getting mighty empty over here, and all of those are full.
Oh man. Okay, so praise break real quick, y'all. I've never smoked weed before. I've never smoked cannabis before, or marijuana, or CBD, or
Right, or any of it, right?
I've never smoked. One time I did edibles in Vegas. It was really bad, and I was like 28 when I did it, and it was like a hell no. So they all looking at me like whatever. So I'm so for this topic and just understanding, and really understanding, because I'm very ignorant and closed eared to any of it, and I have like real big fears of becoming like a cluck. So
I haven't heard that in a while.
I just cannot. And I was taught in third grade and Dare that weed was the gateway drug, and I was like, no.
The gateway
They
drug
do
to
say that though.
consciousness.
They
That
do.
is, and that is a part of the propaganda.
Yeah,
right?
the conditioning.
So, yep.
So that's why I say, like,
They had a whole-
all a part of the
people, I'm like,
program.
you talking about me, because
Yeah.
it happened to me, and I've always lived in the hood. I'm with it. Pull
Yeah,
up.
and our
Like,
government is responsible for that.
I've always been urban and all of that, but that was my fear. Now I will fight you. I will bring a weapon to school. I'm gonna do everything else because I know I'm with it. But baby, when you pull out that green bag, I'm dipping. Like that's the one thing I'm not doing.
Because here come the police.
I
Right.
think I don't care who can. Here come the addiction.
Everybody.
Here come the poverty. Here come
And if
Oh
but that was
No, but
the
that's
goal.
real. That's real though.
That was the goal. So that comes from that fear comes from this government. They had a whole plan system in place since 1938 That the point of it was to make you fearful. It made your parents fearful. It made your grandparents fearful. And then it trickled down to you. So that the DARE program, all calculated by the government.
But you also got to keep in mind that there was a big point of time, though, that people were lacing marijuana as well. And, like, people were really being destroyed with these laced blunts. Like,
That's
I was about to say, there was a lot of other stuff going on, though. But my thing is that,
right, exactly.
DMX, they put
right, that's what I'm trying to say.
Right, but that's part of the government. That's the crack era.
Yeah,
right?
You're right.
So then it becomes, how do you inundate this community to weaken them, right? One, it's the fear, so we got you through there, and then we'll just dump crack on top of it too. So DMX is a good example of like, you're trying to just smoke, and you're trying to have a good time, but here come crack, and somebody put it in your thing. I was in college, and somebody dipped a joint, I didn't know. And I hit the joint one time, and I laid out in the grass like, this ain't right, but you know? Right. And then I knew, like, okay, I had to be very cautious of who I get it from, where it comes from. I would be like,
that's why I said I need to see it rolled up.
Yeah.
You're not about to hand me a blunt that's already pre-rolled. Yeah.
Oh, no. And it comes down even to
I'm at this point where I'm about to grow it. Because I don't even, I can't.
It's trusting your source, because that's another part of it. Right. You know, especially if you're pregnant, you have to know where it's coming from. Like, long are the days of, like, we just going to the corner and getting a dime bag. No, number one, y'all don't even know what you're doing. If nobody can tell you the strain that they're giving you, or where it came from and who grew it, don't even buy it.
Y'all hear that?
And these days, though, they just put them in the little, they just make their own bags and put them in there and call it. But my thing is, you're getting and they say it's from the dispensary, but it's not even sealed. It's just like, it's like a Ziploc bag. It just has some nice decorations on it. It's like, y'all fall for anything. And even quiet as it's kept, because we're new to the medical industry, medical cannabis here in Ohio. Some of the cannabis you get at the dispensary is trash, right? A lot of them go through, they've got mold in them. Yeah, or
they got seeds in them. It's stale. You can't see it. They put it in a black bag. So, and even when you go in, it's almost like common sense. Like, if you go into the dispensary and all they give you is like a little shaker, and you had to smell it, you can't even hardly see what's in there. I'd be like, man, forget it. They're already charging you too much for it. You got to find somebody that you know is a grower, right? That you trust. And, you know, there are growers in Michigan. One of my girlfriends from college is a grower, and, you know, going to Michigan is nothing, right? So it becomes difficult when you're trying to transport and be on the roads with it. So it's safe ways to even get what you need.
There, done that.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, my bad, girl.
What all does cannabis help pregnant women with?
So nausea. That's the first thing. That first trimester, if anybody's been pregnant before, that nausea will knock you out. You think you can't even function, right? So a lot of times, even midwives that work in a hospital, depending on how cool she is or if she's a hippie, she'll even encourage you to use cannabis, right? Because it helps with that. Helping you relax. A lot of times we're anxious, we're stressed out, so you don't want to be stressed out, right? And then it gives you an appetite too at the end of the day. Sometimes that if you haven't eaten and you're like, okay, I don't know if I can eat, I don't have no room, but sometimes you need that little bit of a boost, then it'll increase your appetite. And that's the benefit of the child, right? The baby need to eat, right?
I do have a question on this. So, like, because you're saying, like, as early as the first trimester that it's safe to do. So is it, like, the first thing that's recommended, or or is it typically encouraged for people to try other things, like exercise more, eat healthy, like?
Well, it's always other things, right?
Okay.
Drink your water.
Because there's other herbs, too.
Yeah, there's other herbs that you can use. But a lot of times, because when we get pregnant, we were already consuming. Right? So it's not like you just decided today I'm pregnant and I want to consume, right? It's like I've already done it and I don't want to try anything else, right?
Okay.
And a lot of times if you go to the doctor and you're suffering from something where you're throwing up a lot, they'll give you a medicine for it. Well, I've seen people been on a drip, right? Like, because they throw up so much where they have like a little patch or a little pack where the medicine is just running through them. Right? Because sometimes it gets that bad, and sometimes cannabis won't help. But a lot of times it's your first go-to. Herbs should be your first go-to before you do anything else. Making sure you're hydrated. A lot of times when you're having these symptoms, it's because you're dehydrated. That is the number one thing. I tell pregnant women all the time, if you don't drink water, we can't even work together.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even want to talk to you. Because if you're not going to hydrate your body, you're not doing your body any good. Cannabis won't do your body any good. Eucalyptus won't do your body any good. Lavender won't do any good if you're not drinking the water. Right? So it doesn't have to be your first go-to. It has to be in your arsenal of what you use. Yeah.
Okay, so speaking of the arsenal, what's some other herbs?
What you got?
Well, I like to use, during the time I was pregnant, she was my doula, just to give y'all some background information. Yeah, she helped me stand in my power a lot because I was kind of stressed out during my pregnancy. But some of the herbs I used were burdock root. I used yellow dock root. I used raspberry leaf, nettle, which is like very common. I'll use milk thistle. And, that was good for the mothers that was ready to breastfeed and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
Those just a couple, but I used to make a lot of tonics. And then you gave me some elderberry. So I would use like the elderberry tincture and stuff like that. Just so like I didn't get sick or anything because you know how sensitive like we become when we're pregnant. So
you don't want to be sick and pregnant.
Exactly.
Extra sick.
Yeah.
So all of those herbs are just helping to strengthen your whole system, right?
Gotcha.
Especially your womb. Right, you need the red raspberry leaf. You need the nettle because that helps you, especially when you're going into labor.
And then another thing is I wanted to consume cannabis when I was pregnant. I remember hitting you up like, do you know someone who grow it? Because that's something I wanted to talk about because I know a lot of women on here, they said that they have done it, but for me, I was just too nervous about where it was coming from. So I just really could not even do it. I mean, I did it once and panicked because a baby's kicking in my stomach and I'm like, what the hell is going on? But other than that, like, I was just too nervous because I didn't trust the source at all. So for any other women listening, like, for those who did smoke, like, like, what made you make that decision? Because I was just nervous because I didn't, they do so much extra stuff. I didn't want the extra stuff. Right. I just wanted some simple, regular.
Like regular. Give me the regular weed. I don't want that Snoop Dogg weed, nothing.
Some fucking moon rock and shit. Like,
No,
why is it 75% THC?
Exactly.
And you don't need that much. So a lot of times we're in this world where everybody just wants to be like deaded out. Right, so everybody so there's two different strains, right? There's indicas and there's sativas, right?
Sativas.
Indicas are what you want to do after a long day of work. You don't want to move, you don't want to do nothing. You just want to chill. You want to zone out because it's called indica in the couch, kind of like you just zone back, you chilling. Whereas I'm a mom, right? So there's no way I can just sit on the couch all day, ever, right? So I need a sativa because it brightens up your mood. It gives you some energy. It makes you be able to function. So that's what you need. But the problem is that when you get it from the street, everybody's like, they only want indica. Nobody wants anything else.
That is so crazy to me.
People want to be dead because, it's not crazy because look at the world we live in. If you are getting accosted because you don't wear your mask, you got to be at work, somebody's only paying you $7 an hour, you stress the fuck out. So you just like, you know what? So it's either the alcohol that we are overindulging in so that our livers don't work anymore, or we're smoking cannabis that you never know. If it's laced, you gone, so you don't even care.
Exactly.
Right? So it becomes a matter of fact that you really have to find a grower, right? And find people to trust or grow it in your home, right? Because as we move along in the legal system, you'll find that this adult New York just passed it where they have adult use, right? So adult use means you not penalized. So you don't have to go to a dispensary to get your cannabis. You can get it from wherever you get it from, and it's okay. Here in Ohio, you can have 200 grams.
200?
200 grams. That's 7 ounces. Right?
Oh,
you can have 200 grams and not be penalized. Right? Yeah. What is this dry? You can probably load this up, right? But because you can have up to 200 grams. And then again, so if you're a gardener, right? And without giving all the secrets away, because I don't do this, is that, you put it in your garden. You let it grow outside, you experiment. You kind of know what it is. And as we go along in the law here, it'll be a point where you can grow your own plants in your home. Right? Yeah. Or if you're a caregiver, like in Michigan, they used to have where caregivers can grow up to 12 plants for each patient that they have. So
as you should.
My books are open.
So it's take your time, find some seeds, right? Pick the seeds. If you get seeds in the bag, people always say, I don't want the seeds in my bag. If you don't have seeds, then how did the plant grow?
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
So, I mean, it's optimal that you have minimal because that means there's no cross-pollination going on within the growing system. But if you get the seeds out of there, take one out and put it in some dirt and see what it do. It only need water and sun. That's all you need.
And
that's all everyone
don't
needs.
they have some where they don't even
that's
need
the ingredient
anymore, where you could just grow it in the house and feed?
No.
They don't?
You need light. You need well, you can have artificial light. Nothing can't grow without the light, right? So there's, the different light cycles that they have to be on. But it's just like people with melanin. We need vitamin D. That is the source of our energy. So if we don't have that, then how will we grow? Right? Same with your plant. So if you get a seed, it's just doing an experiment so that you know what you're getting and you know what you'll have. All cannabis, if you grow it right and give it a little bit of love, you'll get the flower that you're looking for. And that's what a lot of people are like, looking for that strong stuff. But if you take care of the plant, it'll be strong enough.
Yes.
Right? It'll have the right potency, because once you heat it up, that's when it becomes activated, and then you'll be high.
Right.
If that's what you're looking for.
Okay, so we got some questions on here. I'm going to ask this first, and then we're going to get to everyone. So when it comes to usage, right? In my head, I always, I'm more concerned about the smoke and not the actual, consuming.
Right.
So for some of the people who did have questions on my story about that, a lot of people was like, I'm not going to smoke it, but I'll take an edible or I'll drink it or stuff like that. So what is your take on smoking, putting too much smoke on your lungs while you're carrying?
So I say do it intuitively. Right. So when I was pregnant, I had the same fear, because it was just it's ingrained in you.
Right.
So I'm like, I don't know. But then you take a couple tokes and you're like, I'm okay. Right. You're paying attention to the baby, because that's what you should be doing when you're pregnant. But you don't have to overindulge, and your body really tells you. So, some pregnancies I smoked, and maybe after the first couple times, I was like, I really don't need it. And I'm okay, because it was making me too sleepy. Right? So I was just like, okay, I can't, I got the other ones running around, so I don't want to be too tired. But then if I thought I needed it, and I didn't want to smoke, because it was really just a choice, I had other ways. So it's really paying attention to how your body feels. And if your body is telling you that smoking is just not what you want to do, then don't do it. Right? I have moms, though, that I've been in while they're laboring, like the spliff.
Okay, so that was one of the questions.
That's one of the questions.
Yeah, I got pictures. It was where she was in the pool. They got the joint going. Blah blah blah. I've been to some of my very first home birth. I walked in and she was like, "Yeah, I just hit the blunt, the bong. I'm good. I'm okay." And she was fine.
Yeah, right? I can imagine the difference.
So it's really paying attention, right? And you don't have to overconsume. I mean, if you're a big old smoker, I would tell you, you don't have to do it every day. It's not a matter of you need to do it every day.
Right,
And
because that's...
No, go ahead.
But that's the thing. So, because I for sure support it. I just know that for some people, prior to them being pregnant, they was already stoners, so then they take that and they still
want to stone, but your body will stop you.
Gotcha.
So you thought you could get through a blunt and a half when you weren't pregnant, and then you'll be pregnant I just hit it and I feel because it's that hormones balance in your system.
Yep.
So your hormones are already raised, right? So the only time that you would probably consume more is if your cortisol levels are high, which is that stress hormone. And if you are stressed out, that's a problem.
Right.
So before you even choose the cannabis, you need to tackle what is stressing you out.
That's real.
Because especially as Black women, it's our man, our money, and our children that stress us out. So, what do you need to do? You need to have a conversation with your man about, hey, I'm pregnant. You need to honor, I am pregnant. I can't do this, that, and the other, because we really shouldn't be doing a whole bunch of shit when we're pregnant. If it's your children, do you need to call on your villagers to come and help you out? And if it's your money, what ways can you make money so that you don't feel like you're in lack?
Right.
Because a lot of times we think that we need all these things when we really don't, right? We're operating on a capitalist system where we think we got to have, and I got to go to work, and I got to have this when we really don't. So you have to eliminate those stresses first. And then once you do that, then you can go back to your cannabis. So it's not don't use it as a soother to then say, I'm not going to deal with everything else.
Right.
And that's what a lot of people do. They want to just don't deal with it,
I think
and then smoke.
Very, 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 very abused, which is another thing that always turned me off about it. Because to know people who smoke, that's cool. I don't care if you smoke. Everybody got their vices. I'll shop. You smoke. Who's got your home? But people they act like they cannot function. Like, we can't go to the club on time because you gotta find weed first. No, you're a crackhead. I don't want to play with you. I'm not doing this with you.
Not a
That's too much for me. That's too much for me. Like, if I get to the bar and they like, oh, it was last call 10 minutes ago, I'm like, cool, I can still dance without drinking.
Yeah.
But like, you can't do nothing without smoking. It just weirds me out. Like, it creeps me out. And it's like,
but it's the same thing with alcohol. Some people can't do anything without alcohol.
But that's the thing. Like, like I say, everybody got their things that they do or whatever. I've just never been that type of nothing with nothing. You know what I mean? I have my preferences. I got strong preferences. But if I don't get it or if I can't do it, it's not going to blow everything.
Right.
You know what I mean? Or when people say, I always wonder, how well does it work? Because people are like, you're blowing my high. And it's like, baby, if I'm drunk, ain't nothing you can do to stop it. Can't blow my drunk. If I can blow your high, baby, you smoking the wrong stuff. You need to get some drink. So
that's actually a good point.
But that was always something that weirded me out.
But
like,
they're
I can
smoking
do one
to get
thing
away,
and
though.
blow your high.
And then too, when they say you're blowing your high, it's because it works on a cerebral level, right? So it's like, if my mind is kind of like in a relaxed state, because we're hyper all day long. I got to think about this, that, and the other. So if you getting me back to that state, yeah, you are blowing my high. Like, oh my God, stop talking. Like, I was just trying to get my mind to relax, and then you got me, right? And right, and then when you go into situations, right?
No, but you need to smoke.
You do.
Yeah, we're right now. You're blowing. I'm scared.
You're blowing our high.
Another important thing to also, like, because you said you should find like the source of your stress, or even you, when you're saying you ran into people who they can't function without weed, I always think it's much deeper than that, because I went through a period of time where I was like smoking like a quarter a day every 2 days. Like, I'm talking about blowing, like, yes, like, and then when I came through, like, when I got to the point where it's like, okay, this is not okay, was because of other shit that was going on. It wasn't because I was like, I want to be high. It wasn't a leisurely activity. It was about to smoke this blunt and forget about all of y'all, so I'm gonna have a good day today so I can make it through the day. So I think, like, it's very important to, because I don't think there's anything wrong with weed at all. Most people don't.
Pay attention to your triggers.
Exactly. It's just why are you doing it?
Yeah.
Why are you doing it?
So, like, for me, for example, like, I went to the dentist 2 weeks ago, so had my teeth pulled. And she was like, you can't smoke for 2 weeks. I'm like, okay, great. We're going to take a tolerance break, right? And then all last week, it was a test. Like, for real. Like, here come this. Here come that. And every day I was like, I'm just going to go home. I'm going to smoke the blunt. I just am. And then in my mind, I was like, okay, I really don't want to dry socket, so I really can't. So then I have to handle that stress in the moment, right? Whether I got to scream, whether I got to cry, whether I got to write it down on a piece of paper. And then for me, it's like, okay, this is how I can handle the stress other ways. Because I smoke just for relaxation and because I got children, right? You be with 4 children, 6, 5, 3, and 1 all day, and there are 3 of them are boys. I be needing a blunt every minute. That's what I think, right? But then I had to be a mom. I had to get through the day, and then however I self-soothe is like, let me address whatever issues I have first, and then come back to my cat. See how I'm feeling. And you know, when you take a tolerance break, you be like, all right, so yeah, you got to deal with the shit, right? And that's really what it comes down to. How do we deal with the stress before you pick up anything else, whatever, before you go shopping on Amazon all goddamn day long, right? Before you blow all your cash, or before you go get a bottle of wine, or
that's an addiction right now.
It is.
Amazon,
because they have everything and they drop it at your door.
That one day shipping
warehouses are popping up everywhere,
right? So it's how we deal with that stress first. Yep,
that's important. So we're ready to take people on the live. All right, so if you want to come in, ask some questions, you know, share your thoughts, opinions, come on in.
And before you do, while you're doing that, I have posted the white lady. Oh, sorry. I didn't want to, be offensive. But her name is Melanie Dreyer, right? And in 1969, the late 60s, she did a study on pregnant women in Jamaica. She is the only one that has done a study that had positive results. Whereas she took like 25 women. Some were smokers and some were not. And they called them heavy ganja users, which means they were smoking 10 cigarettes. 10 joints a day. And what she found is that there were there was nothing wrong. There was no defects. There was no anomalies. The children actually excelled further than the children that were not.
That's a thing, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
affect the child. Yeah.
And she was stopped from doing any more research because it was just too controversial. And they not almost, but if you look at some of her work later on, is that they kind of made her change her story a little bit to make you precautious. Because if you type in Google, or you go into Google and you put in pregnancy and cannabis, it's going to tell you, no, don't do it. Oh my God, you're going to kill the baby. Yep. Oh, you got an addiction, so you can't do it. So no. So she is one of the pioneers in the industry that said, okay, there's nothing really wrong with the children. They're actually excelling further than the children that did not smoke. So it's important for people to, like, when you're doing the research, don't just click on the first link that you see. Kind of comb through the information. Her name is Melanie Dreyer. She's got YouTube videos that she talks about it because it kind of eases your nervousness and eases that fear that you're having with it.
Okay.
Hey.
Hey, girl. What's your name?
Yeah. What's your name?
Hey. What your name is?
I'm trying to figure out who it is. Okay, we're good. So, how you feeling?
I'm feeling good. I'm really enjoying this. Like, this is a very wholesome conversation. I feel like there's a lot of understanding going on, and everything's being explained super thoroughly, so I really appreciate this space.
Yeah, thanks.
I personally did smoke. I smoked until I was 20 weeks. I did a lot of research about it because I was a stoner. Like, I was on the same wave, like smoking a quarter every 2 days. So it's like very unnatural for me to just stop. And also, it was like, as soon as I found out I was pregnant, my body just, like, literally the next day I had morning sickness. And I would be sick from 6 a.m. until I went to sleep. Like, I just woke up throwing up. And I couldn't even keep water down. And I was like, I have to do something, something has to give here. And that was the one thing that I felt like I used it, like, after I did my research. Like, I took the time. That's really what it's all about, in my opinion. You can do whatever you want as long as you research it and you make a decision for you, because it's your body and it's your baby. So you have to know who you are, where you stand with it, because people are going to always have an opinion. It's no considered subject. So, but at the end of the day, doctors will literally tell you, if you feel like you need to, you can have a glass of wine.
Right. And you should not have wine when you're pregnant. I don't care.
I know. I've always felt
funny. It's crazy. So if I can do that, then I can sit and smoke half a blunt.
Right.
Or at the beginning of my day, just so I can consume some food. Or even water, like the basics. I literally lived off of water and plain baked potatoes. For that was the only thing I could get down. But I could not get it down if I didn't smoke. So, and I stopped at 20 weeks because the research I did told me, like, that's when a lot of cognitive development happens with your baby. So I just was very conscious of the fact, like, okay, you are consuming smoke, so you do have to be a little bit aware of what you're doing here. So I personally set a boundary for myself. And I was okay the rest of my pregnancy then, because by that point, I had settled in my pregnancy. I wasn't sick anymore. Like, I was actually extremely peaceful during my pregnancy. Like, I tell everybody that was the most peaceful time of my life.
That's beautiful.
Oh my God.
Yeah, like, that's beautiful that you can experience that. So, in my opinion, like, I think you just have to make an educated decision, and you can't just take what everybody else is saying, because it's not the societal norm to smoke.
No,
it's not. Or consume cannabis in general. But if it's what makes you feel better, like, my daughter's the smartest kid I know. The smartest kid I know. Everyone tells me that. She is literally, she's 4. She's like an 8-year-old. Like, it's crazy. So you can't tell me that I did anything wrong. Because she came out perfectly fine, and even if she hadn't, it could have been something else. Like you said, you get sick and they give you a pill, so it could have been literally anything that caused that. It's not necessarily conditioned to cannabis. We are conditioned to think that's going to be, the evil bottom line. But totally support it. So that's just my opinion on it.
And I like that she said it was two things. One is that they make it so casual that, nothing against people that drink, but it's so casual to tell a mom, sure, have that glass of wine. Right?
Yeah.
And that wine and that alcohol is fucking up your liver. Right?
It's out your liver. There's sulfates in there,
right,
that react to your hormonal system and your adrenal system.
Right.
Really weird. I did that. They told me that, and I did some research, and I was like, what? Sulfates? I know sulfates are in seafood. I'm allergic to seafood.
And there is fetal alcohol syndrome.
Yeah.
So there's not cannabis fetal syndrome or anything like that. It's fetal alcohol syndrome, and they will make it okay for. And I always thought that was weird too. Like you.
Because they make money off of liquor.
Yeah. One drink is okay, but you're telling me a plant that grows from the dirt is not okay? Y'all are ass backwards around here. And we'll be okay because we want that euphoric feeling, right? And that's what we're all trying to achieve sometimes when we're drinking. But it's like, no, you just want to be well. Like the young lady said, you just want to eat. Like at the end of the day, I just want to feel like I am nourishing myself. I'm not trying to do it so that I can kick it for the day, so I can feel like I want to be normal around my friends, because you're not, because you're pregnant. So they're going to do other things when you're pregnant. You're going to have a whole new set of friends when you get to the end of the pregnancy, right? So I like that she said that, because they'll tell you all the time, like, yeah, take the pill, and if you want a glass of wine, go ahead and drink the wine. Yeah, but when your baby comes out and it's, got the shakes and stuff, they'll tell you, did you smoke cannabis? We found it in your system. It's because of that. No, it's probably because of the red wine she was drinking that you told her she could have a glass of, and she had a glass every other day, thinking it was okay. So I'm glad that you made that point, because then, and the other thing she said is that she said to herself that I didn't want to do it anymore. It was her intuition. And that is what we have, because we don't trust ourselves. We're not taught to trust ourselves, especially when we're pregnant. We're relying on somebody else to tell you. So I appreciate that she said that and brought that up, because that's essential. Is that you trust yourself.
Yes. Okay, thank you so much, girl. We're going to bring somebody else in. Thank you for sharing your story and experience. Do you know how to?
Thank you.
But yeah, keep asking questions though in the live. And I never know how to work the live, so you got it, Justin.
Yeah, because I'm watching, but I can't see when people ask only real questions. Oh, only he can.
Yeah. But what was I about to say? So that's another thing. So as you said, marijuana is a plant, right? So I'm a plant supporter. So anything that can grow is always a go for me. But like as of lately, since I decided to come back to cannabis, I'm realizing that personally for me, and what I felt like it was a disconnect in the past was moderation and usage, because I wouldn't sit there and dog some motherwort in one sitting, just smoking it, drinking all of it. I wouldn't do that, because I know like what eventually I'll start to feel like and stuff like that. So now I see how like just abusive it was to face the whole blunt and stuff like that, because now just one little hit is enough. Like, and that's
and it's good. Other ways. So I know I'm a self plug. So I make lemonade, right? Because there's other ways that you can do it that you can get that same feeling. And what I do is I make products. And I'm not looking for people that, there's everybody here that makes edibles because you want to be high, you want to feel like stuck, you had an experience, you ate the whole pack of edibles, and you're like, where am I? Who am I? I'm out of commission. So I don't need people, that's not my goal, like when I make products, right? I don't want you to be out of commission. I want you to feel good. I want you to feel relaxed. So there is always finding that other way, right? So I make lemonade. I make a honey. I got the honey. Then I make, I forgot, I'm trying to show this one. So I make honey that is infused, which is actually probably one of the best ways that you can use cannabis, because honey is naturally healing. right? It has, and I use raw honey. So my raw honey that I use is unfiltered, unprocessed, unheated. It's still got bee legs in it. It's got all the bee pollens, all the bee vitamins, because it's also working in your system, right? So I use that. If you don't even like honey, I make tinctures. So I make one cannabis tincture, which is just straight cannabis, that's cannabis steeped in alcohol for a certain amount of time that you drop under your tongue sublingually. You can take. You can put it in your tea. You can put it in your coffee, however you have to. I make an 80-20 oil, which is with MCT oil, which is cannabis and CBD. So if you feel like you're too high, the CBD kind of balances out your high. But you can put them in a variety of ways, because obviously you're not going to walk around pregnant. Nobody wants to see the pregnant woman walking around with the blunt in her hand, right? So, there's discreet ways that you could use it.
Be like, man, what are you doing?
What are you doing? Right? Because it's all, if I see a woman smoking a cigarette pregnant, I'd be like, oh my God.
I just wonder what is going on in the world. What is wrong with you?
Like, we become judgmental really quickly, right? So you...
One day at Rainbow, I put up the Rainbow in the turnaround, and it was a lady smoking a cigarette. And my face, I could not unlook at her.
Like,
and she was like,
What?
mind your fucking business.
Oh, you were staring hard. Man, you gave her a look.
I be staring hard too.
I did too.
Like,
I was just looking.
Ma'am, like that, that's killing the baby, right? So find other ways that you can consume, right? That are easier to take in, so that you don't have to smoke. The lemonade, I think that's great. That's probably my number one seller with the honey.
I love the lemonade.
Oh, yeah. Quick question. Somebody asked, can five, I hope that's correct, give the background on the differences between the terms cannabis, weed, and marijuana? Okay,
so back in the 30s, this is the time when the prohibition, when cannabis really came into play. So it became a wordplay. So if anybody has ever heard of Reefer Madness, so Reefer Madness is a movie where it was funny. It was a movie where it was all Caucasian cast, but they made it seem like when you are on the cannabis, and they called it marijuana, right? Because that was the derogatory term. It was like kind of like the punch word that they would use, and it gave the idea that people were
out of their mind,
right? And you're going to be hitting people in cars. You're going to rape the women, because this is what they did in the movie.
This was a movie?
It's called Reefer Madness. Yep. The man raped the woman, right? Everybody's laughing. He smoked a joint and everybody started laughing. Like, that's not funny. Then he got in the car and he hit somebody in the car, and it was just chaos, right? But the terminology came into play in the 30s, because they had to identify a group of people to then go after, right? And you go after people that are not looking like you. So you go after the Mexicans, you go after the indigenous people, because then you can target them. It got to the point that the government, and there's this guy called Harry Anslinger, which everybody in the cannabis, if you really research cannabis, knows. And he was appointed to a government position with no experience to put all these policies into place. So if you think about, everybody's heard of the 3 strikes rule. This came from way back in the day, right? Where they put it on the books to kind of get you tripped up, right? It was one point in our history that cannabis was used as currency. You could pay your taxes. It was used even in like the 1600s. Everybody, if you had a piece of land, you had to grow hemp on your property. If you did not grow hemp, you had to go to jail. Right?
Then they banned it because they realized
you ban it because companies like DuPont, right? Everybody heard of DuPont? They make the vacuum cleaners, but they are really big in the chemicals and other byproducts. But because hemp or cannabis has so many uses. You can use it for everything. You can build a house. Yes. You can heat a home. You can make clothes. You can make medicine. You can make a car, right? Henry Ford's first car was used cannabis.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So it was an industry that was making us money. That's why we're going back to it, because America has nothing, right? We sold ourselves out, right? And so we don't have anything. We don't have a resource, right? So now you have to go back to cannabis because that's the way you're going to make money. There's no way the U.S. is going to let Mexico, that is trying to make it legal over there, there's no way they're going to outdo us. That's the thinking of this government. But they put all these plans in place, right? They put these words in place because it gives you a negative connotation. If you think of marijuana, people think, oh, yeah, it comes from Mexico. It comes from them chinks over there and all this other stuff. So if you give it a derogatory name, then you can identify people. And that's really what it did. Then it turned into, well, the slave trade ain't going to work no more, right? Mm-hmm. So now we need to have some chattel. We need some people to do the work. Well, yeah, get them caught up on the hemp, right? Mm-hmm. You get caught with some, now you got 3 strikes or however many, now you're doing 20 years. That's crazy. Right? We still got brothers in jail on cannabis charges, right? So it was just a way to keep the money flowing, but in a different direction. That prison, that pipeline, the prison pipe whole thing we got going, everything comes back to cannabis. The medical industry, pharmaceutical companies, it was on our pharmacopoeia. So there's this big book that they have of all the herbs that you can use in medicine, right? Cannabis was on those books up until the 30s. And then they took it off, right? Because then the pharmaceutical company would lose money. This is all about money, right? It's all about money that is done. The dollar isn't worth a dollar, and that's a whole nother conversation. But it comes back to these people not having a resource. And if you give people the tools, like look at right now, if I can heal myself and I don't have to go to the doctor, it's a problem. I'm a traditional midwife. If the more women that I can tell that you can take care of yourself, then I become a target. Luckily, it's illegal in Ohio, just so people know, that you can birth at home and you can have a traditional midwife because you have to say those things so that people know. But it becomes a matter of if you're taking their money away, right? And then now it becomes, well, it's a free market. You're going to tell me I can make money? Anybody can hustle weed. Right? And anybody can hustle cannabis. You can sell it and you got wherever you need for the week. But it became a point that you don't want people to thrive. You don't want people to be self-sustainable. So you have to keep this image and this fear going, right? That's why everybody had DARE at school. Right? Everybody had. I'm 44
and
years
then those
old.
officers would go home and smoke a damn joint.
They in the car.
That's what I cannot stand. Oh my goodness.
The police are confiscating making a big old cannabis bust, and half of it make it back to the state.
I experienced that personally. Like I got put, and I didn't have nearly 200 grams if I would have known. But I had a little over like 40 grams on me, and I literally had just got it, and I got pulled over. And they took all of it, but it kind of played in my favor, but it kind of made me realize that they were kind of sketchy because they only wrote a certain amount on there, and I knew what they took from me. So I was like, okay, so y'all, it was some good ass bud too. So I was like, I know y'all took that home.
Right? Where the rest of it go?
I was like, okay, I'll take these lesser. Okay.
Right? But you have to, if you would have known your rights, right, it would have been a totally different situation. Yeah. Right? And even when you get pulled over right now, these police officers don't know the law.
Man, they really don't.
They don't know the
law school.
No.
They don't learn any law.
They don't, NaN revised code. But the part comes in, you go to challenge them, now their ego is hurt. Because you know more than they do because you went to training. All you did was physical training for so many fucking weeks. Are you kidding me? You don't know not one law? Tell me the revised code that I just, first of all, what did you pull me over for? Right? That's a whole nother conversation because you turn those lights on. I need to know what's the emergency. Is there somebody dead? What's going on? Because you don't even have the right to do that. Right? But because we don't know that, and because we half-ass learn it and then we want to challenge it at the same time, that's when they can flex their muscle on it, right? But when it comes to this, it's like know what the rules are here in Ohio, right? Know what you can get a ticket for, what you can't get a ticket for. And even if they do take it, I tell people all the time, CBD is so legal. So legal here in Ohio, right? You can get it at the gas station, right? So if you get pulled over, I got CBD, prove it. Right. Because they don't have the equipment. That they don't have a testing facility down at the police center. There is no drop that you can put on it to say that it's cannabis because even CBD has THC in it. Right. Even that, and
I'm about to go tell all the game.
And when you go and quiet is kept, it's not even activated. The THC is not activated in that plant until you heat it up. So right now, what are you busting me for? I got a plant. Yeah, it's bagged up. I mean, maybe because I like my herbs in a bag. Yep. Right. So you have to know how to work the system, right?
I've done that many times.
Yeah,
that's my tea.
Yeah. What are you gonna take my tea from? Why you got it? Why you got it like that? Why it smell like that? Because it's fragrant. It grew outside. What do you mean? Lavender smells good, Mint smells good.
Exactly.
Rosemary smells good. I can smell that when I'm walking in the store. So what's the difference between that and my cannabis? Nothing. And if because you didn't roll up on the car and it's not, I don't have the joint in my mouth and it's not lit, then what are you doing? Why are you even searching my car? Number one.
We might have to bring you back for our other conversation when we start talking about the law.
Yeah,
exactly.
I had a great partner at the at the time where that was a part of what we had to know and what I was beginning to know, and I'm still in that phase of learning.
Yes.
So because I still get nervous. Them lights is PTSD.
Yes.
Them lights come on, you be like, oh fuck, I don't even want to go through the whole thing. And then why are you pulling me over? What do you need to know? Why are you asking me for my ID? You don't need it because you have to be. It's something you got to know every day.
Right.
You got to practice it every day so that you don't get caught up because that's what they're waiting for. Right. Even when you're pregnant and you go to the hospital, the moment they smell fear, they'll do anything they want to you.
Yep.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
And you tell them you got cannabis, they'll come into you like, we found some cannabis in your system. We're going to have to call a social worker. Oh, then we get nervous. Like, oh, okay, well, I only did it this time. And I only did now. You're giving them too much fucking information. Don't tell them people nothing.
It's crazy because when I was... when I had my daughter and I refused the vaccine, they was talking about calling the social worker. Yeah, and I'm sitting here like, they was just like, but only because I try to start at home, and they kept giving me the timeline of my birth. They was like, well, you start at home and you shouldn't have did that, and so basically they kept trying to behave as if I'm putting my daughter in like this continuous harm. So that's irritating.
Terrifying. Yeah. What we don't know is on the little fine print, like on these vaccination schedules, it said it is recommended. It doesn't say it's mandatory.
Oh yeah, that's why you can sign. Right? You can fill out a paper and file it like with them, so you don't have to do any of that.
Yeah, and Nurse Nancy don't know nothing.
No,
so that if she just this is what I'm going to do, and this is what my boss told me to do, so I'm going to do it, and blah blah blah. Okay, you don't know.
And then when you ask for, here's the irritating part: when you ask for the ingredients, they're not going to give you the box. They're not going to give you the jar, whatever it comes in, whatever they got. They're not going to show you none of that. They're going to print something off Google and it's going to tell you the side effects and all this other stuff. And I remember just being like doped up in the hospital, like, what is going on? They're trying to get me to sign all these papers. They showing me the stuff, and I'm like, I want the real information. What is in this vaccine? Oh, this is vitamin A and it's for this, but what is it?
Right.
What is it? Because I could get vitamin A from my cabinet. I got some herbs that can give me that. So
it's that challenge. Nobody wants to be challenged because they think they know everything.
Right, and then that's another thing. So when you do know your rights, you also have to be ready to stand up for them because it's one thing to know and it's another thing to do, because that's when that PTSD start kicking in, because now you're like, oh man, or you don't even want to go through it like damn, because now this is gonna lead to something else. But
you'll conceive. Like even you, when we got here, you're like, oh, do I really have to? And sometimes you got to apply that pressure. Like, you got to. You're gonna have to take one for the team,
right? And that's
you got it, or even that's why you have a doula when you go to the hospital.
I wanted to point that out. Two things, terms: doula, midwife, and naturopath.
Okay,
so. I have just come to the startling realization after our fluoride conversation that part in the dentist hunt, that part of the problem that I have is having these natural expectations for medicine pushers. And so what I was like is you know what, it's trying to fit a circle in a square, and I would be at a lot more peace and at ease if I just went to places and people who spoke my language and understand my goals. So having the doula or a midwife or having that back as a support, I ain't gonna say as a backup, but as a support to your knowledge and what you're doing when you're giving birth is fucking essential. If you care, because if you're out, like she said, I ended up I came in fine, and I ended up getting to a point where I was now high and groggy, and now I don't feel like I'm thinking with my best mind. And during COVID, you can't have. I had about 8 people in my delivery room, and now you can't have that. So you may not have your mama and bae. You may not have auntie, grandma, and mom. You may not have the board there to speak on you. So now you need that other person. They cannot deny a doula in the room. They cannot put them out. Right? So having the doula or that midwife in there to speak on your behalf and to speak a language, because the doula know your language and the doctor's language. And that's what you need sometimes. You need a translator when you're in that. Exactly or take yourself out of the system altogether. If you're tired of arguing with UH and Cleveland Clinic and Metro, quit going. There are literally doctors who specialize in herbal remedies, natural remedies. They still do blood work. They still do lab testing.
That's true.
They assess you at where you're at, and then they give you a plan to naturally heal yourself. And like, it's sad to say, but like a lot of times we want what's free. What's cheap. What's easy. What's quick. What's convenient. And guess what? Show me a shortcut. I'll show you a quick down.
And I'll tell you this. So you asked about terminology. So a doula she's your support person. She does all the emotional support, right? She should know terminology because it is a dog eat dog world when you get in there, right? And the nurse is like, oh my God, she knows something. You were trying to do my job, right? So me as a traditional midwife, is different than a midwife at a hospital, right? They go to nursing school, they go to college, blah, blah, blah. They go through this board certification. They can only work at a hospital, right? Traditional midwives usually apprentice under someone. We go through other workshop trainings, and then our apprentice says that you're ready to be out there, right? But the advocacy is a whole thing. You need to know their language, just like law. You need to know the language. That's why I said to you earlier, you need a Black's Law dictionary. So it's kind of like even your doula has to take that step further to do the research, to understand what it is that they're giving you in the hospital so that you can speak for you, because what they do is make you groggy, and then all of a sudden here come all the paperwork. Oh, you just gotta sign it real quick.
Trying to tell you.
You gotta sign it real quick. It's okay, just sign this. You be like, what is it? No, don't worry, it's just a consent form. It just says that you're not gonna make us liable for what we are doing.
What we're telling you they have to do for you.
I put the suction cup on your head and the baby got something wrong. Oh, but you signed the form.
Right.
So you didn't hold me liable. It's just a part of birth. Ooh, what?
I'm
getting heated.
Right?
Cerebral palsy and stuff. It's
real. It's real. And
the
then
suctioning the baby out, just for people who do not know, in case it happens or it comes up, them suctioning on the head is known and linked and proven to cause cerebral palsy. There was a whole class action suit about it about 9 years ago, and it's still, I think you can still like join into it, but it came to a head, and they had to pay a lot of people a lot of money because when they had kids that arms were jacked up, and
I think you're literally suctioning the most sensitive part of their body.
And when a baby's born, like, isn't their crown chakra like wide open?
Yes.
So you're literally damaging that
on a spiritual level, right?
So that's a whole nother conversation.
No, it's not, because it is. Because these are ancestors coming through. I don't care who you are, what you believe. These are ancestors that said, we got other stuff to do out here, so I chose you. Right? You're going to come. I'm going to come through. We're going to learn the lessons again together. You're going to help me. I'm going to help you. Right? So they are taking away the significance of birth, even the process, even the way the baby passes through, and all the juices that are down there, they have to coat the baby's face, right? So we're taking that away from my mom and I have a conversation, because she's a nurse, and she had a C-section, and she said, "Baby, that was something wrong with you because you didn't get all the juices that you needed on me," right? That's crazy. Because that's essential and it's important. And I even tell moms that, when you have a home birth, it's not about trusting me. And it's not about trusting that doctor's office. It's about trusting your fucking self. If you don't trust yourself, then there's nothing I can do for you. It's nothing the doctor's office can do for you. I don't care. And then I've had some clients where we want to do tandem care, right? And I'm like, okay, you can go get some blood work, because I really don't do that, right? I'm not really concerned about your blood work. I mean, unless you got something going on, I really don't. That's not my issue. So I even tell them, like, you have to lessen your reliance on that, because you're only going there because you think that white coat makes them an authority. You think all of a sudden they know everything, and you walking in and you're going to tell me that somebody knows more about your body, that knows you for 15 minutes, than you know with your whole being that you live with.
Come on, yes,
and even on that, so with I have one child, and with my experience going through, like, starting with an OBGYN and switching over to a midwife, I went into the doctor's office to like, you know, because they have to give you the form that, okay, we took the test and you're pregnant. And they were telling me like, oh, you're not where you are yet. And I was like, no, this is the day that I made this baby. So this is where I am. Right. And I know for a fact that this is it. So I didn't even end up getting like the 8-week ultrasound that they give you until I was almost like 15 weeks because they didn't think I was pregnant. I was just like, okay.
So you're going to tell me I don't know when my period was?
I was like, I got to find a different route to do this.
Yeah, they'll be like, well, let me give you the ultrasound so we can know for sure. We can check the measurements. They make it real scientific. But I'm like, so you're going to tell me I don't know when my last period was? And I can't
when I laid down and made this baby? Like,
we know, it's a lot of us, if we're really in tune with our body, as soon as we lay down, I'm like, damn, that was the one, wasn't it?
That was the one.
Now I'm pregnant. Now you like, oh, I got to wait the 4 weeks for the fucking confirmation, but I know what just happened here.
That is or like, as soon as you get one little inkling, it happened. Yeah, like you're not happened, but you like,
you know,
I'm gonna wait. I don't want to know yet, so I'm gonna wait 3 weeks, and then I'm gonna go ahead
because we got to go through that denial. Like, I don't know if I was really, because you were intentional. We have to know that when we're laying down that we're doing this, right? That's the point of sex, is to procreate. So you're gonna have a baby, right?
What I was doing.
Talk about that.
We just fucking.
What I was
doing. We got a question.
I was stretching.
We just fucking.
So we got a question for all the mothers. So did any of you? Oh yeah, right. So did any of your children get vaccinated at birth? Any of them?
My son did because it was like almost 6 years ago, and like my views and stuff have changed a lot since then.
Right.
So like now I don't think I would, but yeah, I did a lot of things. I just went with whatever. I was like 21 years old, and I was like, I've never done this before. Yeah. I didn't have any guidance, any knowledge, and I was like, yeah, just tell me what to do and I'll do it, basically.
I didn't vaccinate Jax that day. I had other issues.
You said that day.
I didn't. But what happened was they did this, whatever the heel stick is, where they do a test with a heel stick, and I let them do that because it's supposed to tell you something.
Right.
And then when we went back, when you go back like the next day or 3 days after birth, they said they had to do it again because it was abnormal. I was like, oh no, shit, give me the vaccines. Because shit, you know what I mean? So I got him vaccinated when he was about a week. He did fine. He never got a fever. He never did, like, he was like a G. He was just like, this is what we doing, Mom? And I'm like, yeah, dude, you know, what the fuck I'm doing.
I don't know.
And he did it, but I didn't do it there. I had affidavit. I had so many issues because my child's father would not sign the birth certificate. And my baby went latched to my other titty. So
just the one titty.
Just the one. He would only eat off the one side. He went. So this titty was literally this big, and the other one was like that size.
Not the real life example.
Stop. So I literally told them, unless somebody is signing this birth certificate or making this milk come out this titty, don't bring me nothing else. Do you know they didn't even come take my baby picture? Nobody would come in my room. And they put me out after, like, I left the hospital 29 hours after I gave birth. They put me out early as shit. They was like, oh, she can go. Because I wasn't running up the bill. Yeah. I had no drugs. I had no epidural. I was there for 2 fucking shifts. The nurse that checked me in had went home and came back and delivered the baby because she was like, "Okay, you just not leaving."
Right.
So they were tired of me, and then I had a doula. Y'all had Verna there. So she was like, right. And I had 8 people there, like I said. So once they can't make no money off of you, you can leave the bed.
Yeah.
Because they literally couldn't. They didn't even come around and take my baby pictures at the hospital.
Interesting.
That is interesting.
Okay, so
I didn't vaccinate at all. The heel pricks, I'm familiar with that. I was apprehensive about them even putting ointment on my son's eyes because I was like, "What are y'all? What are y'all?"
Unless you had an STD.
That's what I'm saying. Like, why? Yeah, that's what I was like. Why are y'all rubbing stuff on his face? Like, so I was very against all that. And even to this day, like, I actually have a checkup for him coming because I like to get his weight done. That's really why I'm like, okay, let's just see how much you weigh. Like, I'm excited. But they try to talk me into vaccines every single time, and they try to make me feel like I'm doing something wrong by not vaccinating, and like I'm putting him. They literally told me my son had to get stitches because he jumped off the bed and hit my desk.
Tetanus. They wanted him to have tetanus.
They wanted him to get tetanus shot, but they literally were like trying to make me feel like by walking out of the hospital, me and my son were gonna die. Like I was literally killing my baby, and they sent 3 people in to talk to me, and I'm just like, we'll take our chances.
But it's so funny because they come as a gang, right? They always got the main one with the paper, the clipboard, whatever, and then everybody else around you, they sitting there like
at the bed.
They all like, so
he said that you don't
said that you denied your vaccine. Why did? Because I'm not giving it to her. Get the fuck out.
Did you know that?
And then they was like, well,
they just try and scare
maybe
you.
we might consider calling a social worker. Maybe you could speak to one of those. I'm like,
call everybody.
No, that's
you want to call somebody? Call everybody up in here. Call your supervisor. Call the social worker supervisor.
My bad. I got a little passionate.
Right? Call everybody. And for me, I had my bonus children. I know because they're older. I know they were vaccinated. And then my children, I stopped with my one daughter who's now, how old are you? 19. Yep. I stopped with her because right after she got a vaccination, she broke out in like lichen planus, which is like it's like a fungus all over your body. And I was just like, I don't know. I don't even know if it came from the vaccination, but I'm like, we ain't gonna try that no more, right? And then when I had the second set of children, because you were what, 13, 12? How old were you when I had the last? I don't know.
I'm 6.
You weren't 6.
No, he's 6. Actually, 6.
And you were.
So 13.
So you're 13 years apart. So the new set of children, they just different, right?
New set of children.
The new practice children, they don't have anything. Like I didn't do circumcision.
I didn't circumcise either.
You came with it, you're going to keep it.
Right.
The vaccinations, no, don't put nothing in them that I don't know about. They need breast milk and that's it.
Yes.
And I'm cool with that. I'm in the last 2, because I had them at home, I didn't have to go through that. So, and I'm not about to go through it. I let my midwife do the heel stick. And I was really like, why? It's really not necessary. She's like, because they're going to see if they got some kind of anomaly. I was like, well, what do I care?
Is this for boys or something?
No, they do it for everybody. They stick them on the bottom of their foot. And they put the blood sample
okay.
on. And it's like,
y'all would not believe what I saw in my head.
They send it off to the health department, and it'll to come back if they've got any kind of the rare genetic disease that you could probably stop them from having. But I'm like, if they already got it, you're already here. What am I going to do?
Right.
Yeah. We're going to deal with it because you're here.
We had a few things in here. We had one. How do you feel about forceps delivery?
Forceps?
Yes.
Oh no.
What is forceps?
That means that clamp that they put inside you to get the baby out.
They do that?
Oh my god.
Yeah, it kind of. So if you look, you know, like the speculum they use for your do your pap smear. So just kind of think of that instrument, but it looked like 2 big spoons. Right?
Like a salad
yeah,
saucer.
2 salad spoons, and they'll put them up in you to help coax the baby down and out. Nah,
I told them so.
Okay, so that was a no.
Yeah,
that's a no.
And then after that, we had, what can they do if you refuse the vaccination? Did your doula have to provide paperwork? I mean, I could share my experience. All they're gonna do is try to convince you, scare you into getting it, but they can't do nothing because it's optional. Like a lot of people feel as if they have to vaccinate their child in that moment, but that's how they will word it. Like you just have to listen to the usage and the tone when they speak.
Yeah, because they make it seem like you're opting out of something. Like it's not even mandatory for me to do this.
Yeah, so you have to know the wording, right? But know that you don't have to say yes to anything.
Right.
You don't.
I lost a question because I had got out of the live for a second.
Well, I'm still here, so
and let's. So here's the thing too. Like always know that if there is something wrong with your child, right? You want to be able to go. That's what hospitals are for. They're here for emergencies and something that I can't do, right? So where they try to trip you up is that they will say that you're neglecting your child. That's called medical neglect. And that is what they will take parents to jail for or try to get you to go to court for because they think you're neglecting your child. But vaccinations and things like that or how I birth my child is not neglect. It is a conscious decision that I'm making. But if your child has, came back and they've got like cancer and you don't really know what to do or you don't have an arsenal or a natural doctor to help steer you another way, then yeah, you probably want to hear what they're offering so that you can make an educated decision. That's really what it is at the end of the day. You need to make an educated decision that's best for you. And sometimes it is to go with the medical route. And that's okay because they're specialized. You find a specialized doctor that you've been doing this, but even though you're still practicing, right? But you find someone that you trust that will help you along that way and will help educate you as you go along. A lot of times that's where they will get the people tripped up because they'll use the word like, well, you're neglecting the baby. No, I'm not. That's a vaccine is not neglecting. Azithromycin on their eye and I don't have an STD is not neglecting my baby. Right? A vitamin K shot is not neglecting my baby. And that vitamin K, they'll tell you, oh my God, the baby's going to bleed out. They're going to hemorrhage. And I'm like,
they really try to make you think your baby is going to die.
I'm like, the baby just got here.
And it's sad because they believe it. Because
like, even with me, like not getting the cord cut immediately, they were, when I tell you, I went into this, like, I was like, okay, once I had that experience, I was like, okay, I got to go home and do my research, really understand what this pregnancy thing is about, because I see they're on some bullshit already. And then the next appointment, I came in, like, with my birth plan printed out. I had one for the nurse, one for the doctor. I was like, this is how we're doing this. This is how it's about to go. This is the doctor's office I'm switching to and everything. And then by the end of my pregnancy, they were, like, so tired of you.
Like, oh my God, here she comes with the paperwork again.
Yeah, it's like, I was like, nah, according to my birth chart, this is what's going down today.
Oh, because when you come in with a plan, they are like, what?
I mean, my birth plan.
Oh, yeah,
my birth plan.
I know I heard that
my astrology chart. What's supposed to happen?
She has one of those.
Yep.
This is cute. Wait till the pain kicks in.
Yeah.
And here I was, no nothing.
Yeah, I
wiggling
did
around,
natural too.
chilling, begging for more popsicles.
Yep.
And
they think it's a joke when you get there.
So mad. They be so mad.
Because
or
now
even
you're
they
in
told
control.
me I had to labor. They were like, well, we want to give you some Pitocin because you're at 9 inches and I want you to push at 10. I said, oh, if I lay down, the baby about to come out because I felt it. I was standing up and I felt it. I was like, if I lay down, I can push him. Well, you may get tears. Bitch, I get tore up all the time.
Oh my God. Get tore up all the time.
Oh boy.
Let me push.
See, Pretty got a question. She said, what should one research in regards to seeing how to legally decline vaccines in their state?
You can Google that, but you can go to the CDC. You can go to I'm trying to think. The CDC is like a really good one that you can look at, but it's really like you're not going to find a lot of information that says that you shouldn't do it. You're going to find everything that says that you should do it. So what you really have to go with is what's in your mind, and what's in your heart, and what's on your what you're thinking. Like if you know that it's not right, then don't do it. That's kind of really what the research is. I mean, because what do you think they're about to like leak every ingredient that's in there? Right. They're not.
I don't know. Maybe I don't know because I interpreted this question a little bit differently. But as far as like paperwork and filing, the only thing I've ever had to file in regards to exempting my child from a vaccine was like when I admitted him to or enrolled him in daycare, like for part-time, like if they're not vaccinated, you have to go online and get a form from the state. So you can literally just look up vaccine exemption form, Ohio, Texas, California.
I write those,
Oh yeah.
I write those because I have had to do the same thing for my children. So thank you for reinterpreting the question. Because if you find somebody like myself or somebody that's knowledgeable, you can do it yourself too.
Yeah.
Because it's literally just a sheet that says this is the revised code and I'm just exempting my child from it. It's not even a big thing. You don't even have to. I tell people to get it notarized if you want to, because it just legitimizes it in their eyes.
But that is when you decide not to vaccinate your child, you have to be firm in that decision because every time you go,
when you do the well care, so like now Jackson isn't getting shots, but he's at benchmarks for more shots, but he hasn't gotten shots since this age, and now he's almost 4 and he has to get a physical every year for daycare. So then the daycare is like, well, this isn't his complete shot record. Oh, yes, it is. It's done. It's complete, all right. And so every time you go to the doctor for that physical, they're like, hey, rubella number 3 ain't given. And it's like, it ain't going to get gotten. But, and so that's why you have to be firm, is because you're literally, especially if you're using daycare, especially if you're in the school system, in the public school system, you're always going to have that conversation. And that's honestly, I always wondered why natural people, why healers, I always wondered why they were so separate and inaccessible. And now I see why. Because this is literally a headache to deal with.
It is, and you
regular people, not regular people, but like the common folk.
And I used to be a child care director.
I feel like it's just more systems more than anything. And
it is
exempting fuck an exemption form paper. I mean, you could do that yourself, like without all that. You are the exemption. Yep. You come and you be like, no, and you need paper. I am not taking a vaccine.
Right.
There you go. Like,
you just don't want to deal with that stuff, though. Like
you don't, and that's why you just do everything.
We had the conversation about Florida because I got like lectured by a dental hygienist on the phone.
No, that wasn't the hygienist. It was the secretary.
No, I was talking to the dental hygienist.
The hygienist.
Yeah, and she was like, I was like, okay. I was like, no, I just told her. I was like, we're gonna bring our own toothpaste. That's okay. Mm-hmm. And she was like, can I ask why? And like, so I just told her, like, we don't use fluoride, and my son like doesn't even like your toothpaste anyways. Like, we tried it before, and he was like, I'm not. He was like, not
doing it.
So bad. So I was like,
people hate when you respect your children.
Yeah,
they hate it.
Right. And she just like lectured me.
Yep.
Like literally told me he's gonna die. Like his teeth were all gonna rot out, and like
they'll do that anyway.
Yeah, and I was like, and she told me this whole story about this people, and I was like, sometimes for me personally, I'd rather just not. I'd rather just find somebody more natural.
Yeah, and that's why I say I always wondered why it was like that, because I knew of people who kind of were on their own beat, and I always wondered why. I was like, why don't you just come to UH? I like you.
Oh no,
come on.
because you have to.
I see why
you have to. It becomes because when you become less reliant on the system, you kind of got to go into hiding. Because I've had people be like, I don't want my children to play with your children because they're not vaccinated. Are you fucking kidding me? Really? That's how we do it? You know what? So we won't play with nobody. How about that? We'll play with each other. They got siblings and stuff like that. Yeah. It is. Because, and I had to learn that even, in a partnership is that was because I didn't grow up with siblings. Like me and my sibling are 20 years apart. So it was a matter of like we were having more children because a part of that is that they need each other because there's not a lot of other people that think like we do. So then I'm not about to subject my children to like their parents' views and they just don't get it. I'm not about to go to a daycare and then I got to come with all my paperwork for my child to sit there for 8 hours. Number one, I don't even want you teaching my child what it is.
I was just about to say that.
I don't. And that's why you have to do everything. You have separate. And then you don't realize it until you get it. Like one day they made the mistake of sending me Jack's lunch home.
Excuse me?
Yeah, like they had to play. They played outside because it was nice, and they didn't have enough room for eating. And Jackson only does a half a day. So when I got there, she's like, "Oh, we packed up his lunch." It was breaded fish sticks that didn't even taste like they were heated. You know how stuff tastes like it thawed out but wasn't cooked. It was peas, which I'm quite fond of peas, and it was like fruit and syrup, like maybe like smashed apples or like roasted apples or something like that, and bread. And it's like so much that they do that pyramid by. And I said, Jackson, well, what did you eat? I would drink my milk. You
oh my God, you getting the cow milk?
And it was like, they said, do you want to have milk or water? And I said, water, always water. Always water. Because he hasn't been on lactose ever. And like I think one of the Gerber formulas
understand that,
but and it's like so with he's on a few different systems because his dad's side will let him have chocolate milk or whatever, and he can tolerate it. It's not like he can't tolerate it. I just don't give it to him, right? Especially not during low vitamin D season, right? You know what I mean?
Well, and the milk industry is a whole nother thing because I used to be a child care director, and that I would tell them like, okay, I don't want to order this amount of milk because we're not drinking
and
it.
If you don't
and then we don't order, they're penalizing us
for not ordering.
So then I have to order an abundance of the fucking cow milk, and then if parents want to come in, they gotta label their almond milk.
They wouldn't even let me bring in. My son barely lasted at daycare because I was like, y'all are not about to have him in.
You're nickel and diming me.
Like, yes, and then you're paying all that money, and you're feeding. When I seen the food. That's what I like, because I was like, I need y'all to print me out a menu so I know what he's eating every day.
Trash.
And when I started seeing it, and then they write on their papers, like, oh, this is what they ate today. This is like, y'all are in here making my son eat. They wouldn't let me pack a lunch. And he's eating rice and peas every day.
Yep. It's worse because you can't bring in outside things unless they're in the infancy. So now, well, that's what they,
that's what they're telling you.
That's what they're telling you.
That's
and then
that's their rule.
the dentist, I had hemp and coconut oil toothpaste. And when I asked my dentist, could we bring the toothpaste? They were like, well, coconut. Well, we try to keep all nut products out of the office for allergy purposes. And I was like, okay, that's cute. I got charcoal too.
Right.
And so that's how we got out of that. But I just realized that I was like, every time I go somewhere with this hippie list of requests, I'm going to have static. So I got on Clubhouse and I found a whole bunch of doctors who are in a whole network with a whole bunch of other doctors. And I'm a firm believer in, even when I worked in a system where I had insurance, I would always get the plan that was like, basically, if I'm about to die, I'll pay $3,000 and then they'll cover the rest. Because honestly, that's what I've always needed. Because I've never been sickly and this and that and all that. So I was like, I'm not about to pay y'all the most amount for if something happens to me, I can be covered up to a certain amount anyway, and I'm still gonna have a deductible. Charge me like $2 a month, and if shit hits the fan, I'll just pay out the pocket. And I was like, if this has been literally me for the last 10 years, why would I go against that with healthcare? You know what I mean? Like, honestly, even if I had a naturopath doctor and they're more expensive, I'm only going once if my arm's falling off or something. You know what I mean? Like, most of our problems are inflammatory issues anyway. So get you a chiropractor, get you a physical therapist, get you those things, and that'll fix a lot of your physical ailments with your diet. So if you get your diet in control, and then you get your alignment in, and you do some mindfulness, do some soul searching, you'll literally be healthy. You will not need these doctors. All these chronic diseases and discomforts are shit you created for yourself.
And homeschool your children. I know it might be difficult. I know it might be difficult out there for moms and stuff like that, but we have to come out of that system of working. So I was in it because that's what I thought we had to do. Like, you got to go to work, you got to do this, you got to do that. And then you either get with somebody that is in agreement with that, and then, or you find a way to sustain your livelihood, right? So I had to come off of, okay, well, I can be a midwife, I can make products, I can be a naturopath, I can do that, and then the universe will open up the opportunities for you, right? Because there is no way. I've never had boys, so this is my first go around, and the universe gave me 3 of them, right? So I'm like, if I had to send them to school, and I was a teacher. I used to teach in Cleveland School. I taught for 10 years, and then I retired myself because if I had to send my son to school, as active as they are, somebody would be on my phone all day. Like, could you please come and get him? Could you please come and get him?
Yes,
he won't sit down. He won't sit down. And I'm like, no, developmentally, he needs to run around. And even how we homeschool is fluid. He's 6 years old, and no, they don't read fluently yet. No, they can write and they identify stuff. But if you sit there and ask my son about dinosaurs or a conversation, or it will blow your mind. So I'm like, I'm not really prescribing to what everybody else is doing, and it does kind of alienate you and isolate you from everybody else. Because I'll have my friends, even I'm not like a vegan, you know, I'm a selective omnivore, that's what I call myself. But you know, my friends from like college will be like, so if we come over there, we gonna eat air? What, you having grass? And I'm like, well, you don't have to come over here. You can eat before you get here if that's what you want. But you know, if we were having grass, well, you're more than welcome. It tastes delicious because I cook really well, right? But you have to then look at, you know, who your circle is and who's in your village and how you can work together as a community of people of like-mindedness, right? And then finding that, because it's difficult out here. We are like needles in haystacks.
And support each other in it. And educate each other in it. And enlighten each other in it. So like, even when I had put on my Facebook, I was like, y'all, I shared the flyer, and I was like, I'm going to learn today. Y'all already know I ain't with the shits, but I'm open-minded to learning because I know that there's a whole nother side to everything that I don't know. You know what I mean? There's the truth, there's your version, there's my version, there's a whole lot of versions. And so just even moms out here listening, if your child is in daycare, if your child is not homeschooled, if you are not prepared to leave the workforce, don't take what we're saying as, you know, an attack or this. It's just it's another approach. You know what I mean? Process. And it is, and you have to. And I'm a firm believer. You have to wean yourself out. People know I used to teach. I used to work for the school systems. And when I got pregnant, I said, "It's my kid.
or them kids. And I had to say, fuck them kids.
Yeah.
Respectfully. I had to say it because I knew me. And the way I gave, I was able to give because I did not have my own. But I always swore that once I had my own children, I would not be that teacher paying somebody to raise my kid while I came and raised other people's.
Yeah.
I knew it from jump. You know,
and then you would have an attitude like I would be at work all day long with other people's kids and children, and I would be like, okay, and then I would get home to like my girls at the time, and I would be like, don't ask me that fucking thing.
Yeah,
don't talk to me. I done dealt with other people's children all day, and then you want me to deal with you? Figure it out. And it would be frustrating for them. You know, she might not say, "Now you traumatic, you okay?" Right? You need therapy. But then I had to realize, like, when the second set came, like, and I was even working in the childcare facility, like, yeah, all day with y'all is beautiful. I love you, each and every one of you, but you know, it's over here, right? And it's a process because I was in that. I got to go to work. I got to do this. How am I going to function? And then when I really didn't have a job, I was like, oh, like first year, I was like, this is. First of all, you got to get used to being at home, which is a whole nother horse. If you worked every day of your life and all of a sudden now you at home with your children, you like, what?
You feel like you're not doing
what
anything.
We doing?
I mean, you had went through COVID before COVID,
right? We quarantining, right? And I've been in a quarantine because I just had my daughter last year. So COVID, I had her February 26th. Then COVID hit. So I'm like, y'all got COVID. I got postpartum. So what are y'all talking about? Because I don't know. I've been at home with her and all the other ones. So it is a process. Even how you eat is a process. You know, I use because she's here. But I remember trying to do the juices, the smoothies. Say we're not gonna eat the meat. This daughter was the one where she would go over her dad's house and I'm like, what'd you eat all weekend? Well, I had a hamburger with macaroni and cheese on it. And what? I'm like, what in the hell is y'all doing over there? But now she's the one who's a vegetarian, talking about I don't want the chicken. No, you making? Oh my God, you're not even. And then for a while I was like, well, am I gonna feed you? Right? And then it turned into like, oh, well, she got to eat. We all got to eat it, right? We all got to lessen our dependency. And then where I live at right now, I live with somebody who's a vegan, and I'm like, oh, so I can't bring meat in the house. So we're all of us are like, okay, this is it. And luckily, I have children that they have open palate, so they'll eat, everything, and it's not as difficult because a lot of parents will be like, well, I'm used to the Chick-fil-A and stuff like this, but you have to have these conversations and you have to introduce the food to them.
And my son's as young as 3, and I just want to point out that she has like these two, their children, which 2 and 1, brightest, sweetest, most articulate, like sharp children, non-vaccinated children. Oh my God! Like Era would look through your soul, and her baby is like a grown man.
She came out.
Her son's like a grown man. He's so poised and so calm and so sweet, and you would not have thought that he was one at all.
I did not
turned 2, right? He just turned 2, and it's like so you have these notions that these unvaccinated kids are weak and sickly, and they're gonna look like the little prairie children when they would get sick in the little houses.
No, but that's what they make you think.
That's what they make you think.
Go get your test and it's like, oh, your kid is in the 99th percentile.
You're doing better than the kids drinking cow milk. No shit. Yeah. And so I just want to say that just to point that, to put that out there, is that there is normalcy in this newness, and it's not even newness, it's really throwbackness,
right? It's like going back to
it's really just how it really used to be.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I just want to throw that out there.
But I wanted to speak on something. So you quickly said lessen dependency, but that is just so important to me because I feel like, I'm going to keep saying this because of the way the system is made. We all have become so dependent on fast food. Like everything just has to be fast and quick.
Right.
I mean, obviously, because I'm surprised people are getting the COVID vaccine. I'm like, I am just. I'm surprised.
It's such it's like cannabis and pregnancy. It's this controversy, and what they're doing is they're pitting people against people.
Yes.
And we are policing each other, right? So you can't have a conversation like the mask, like even when you're pregnant. I be telling pregnant women, why you got that damn mask on? You can't breathe and you're restricting your airflow to you and the goddamn baby.
Yeah.
Right? But then somebody else will be like, no, you got to put the mask on because you got to protect me from protecting you and blah, blah, blah. So then now we're in a race where we're fighting each other. When at the end of the day, right? If you breathe air. People forgetting that you need air to breathe. Right? I see people outside. It's hot as fuck outside. You got a mask on?
Or walking, exercising. I was like
at the lake with the mask on.
But it's because we are so dependent, because the system has made you dependent, that if you think that you take yourself off of it, you won't live.
Right.
So it is a hard task to say that I don't want to do that. And because if I say I'm not going to wear the mask and all of you have your mask on, all of a sudden then I'm questioning myself. Like, maybe
right. And you know what? There was a study behind that. Dang, I can't remember. No,
I was just in an elevator and that happened. And the man was like, "Oh, I'm sorry, y'all." And it was a Caucasian lady. She's probably about 55. There was a very, very in shape, about 55-year-old black man. There was me, and then another about 60-year-old black man came on with no mask. And so we were like, here. And when he seen all of us with our masks, well, it's the hotel rule. When he seen all of us, he was like, "Oh, I'm sorry, y'all." And we all were like, "No, do you?" We just got it on because we don't want to argue with him.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And he was like, "Right on." You know what I mean?
Right.
And that is how I feel about masks. So when I go into a place and there are employees who may have anything, leukemia, they're susceptible immune systems or anything like that, and the place the establishment that I'm patronizing has a masking preference policy, I don't have a problem obliging by it. Why? Because I don't own it, you don't own it, we are here, they gotta work here. I hate for people. You cannot come in my house and make me uncomfortable. Period. So if they got a sign up or whatever like that, I don't care. But outside, hell no. Nobody goes outside.
Or really, you patronize where you feel comfortable.
I
go to Costco. So Costco got a rule. You got to put the mask on. Here's the rule. I put the mask on at the door, and then everybody around there got their mask down.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, you just want me to wear it because that's what the government said you had to do, and it's giving people this right to be like, I was in, and I'm gonna call them out. I was in City Buddha on Coventry, and I don't know who the sister was, but she was working too hard for these people that pay her nothing. And she was like, our owner, first of all, you don't even know the owner. For real. Our owner said, you got to wear the mask, blah, blah, blah. She got on the phone to call the fucking police. And I said, are you kidding me? And we left out of the store. We came back. And the way she reached for the phone, I said, if she would have had a pistol, she would have shot us over some shit that don't belong to her. Right? Because they are forcing you to police other people.
That's what's been
and taking their right
and you know
away.
What they tell them? Remember what happened at your birthday dinner? It's
yeah.
too many of y'all. People are walking by and calling the police on us, and we're going to get fines because y'all are too deep.
But we're eating.
Right.
So what do you want me to do? You want me to put the mask up here and the mask down here?
Well, they didn't care about the mask. They said it was too many of us sitting together.
It was
for a party that we had a reservation for.
Right, and what are the laws on that? Nobody knows. We're just making.
We're just making up on you. We're just making up stuff. So now you're wasting.
Areas like Cleveland Heights is in.
They're always notorious.
Cleveland Heights has been notorious. They're notorious for everything.
And I watched them. I've seen people in Cleveland Heights. I grew up in Cleveland Heights, and they on Coventry. They are trying to hem up people left and right.
They make all their money off Coventry.
All their money.
It's like about 14 businesses that generate most revenue for Cleveland Heights as a municipality.
You have to stick to your guns. Like you have to. If I'm not gonna wear a mask, and like I said, you pick where you want to go. Like if I know that Dollar Tree and I really don't fuck with Dollar Tree, then I'm not going in Dollar Tree, right? Or what I'm going to do is that if the grocery store keeps telling me that I have to wear the mask to come in here, motherfucker, I'm just grow the food, right? But you got to grow your food. If you don't learn nothing else, if you grow tomatoes, you grow cucumbers, you grow greens, you grow watermelon, then we can barter and trade, right? But people have to get to that idea that you can't rely on a system to feed you. You can't rely on a system to educate your children.
The same one making you sick and making you dumb.
And we over here and a vaccine takes years to come up with, formulate, go through the testing, and you tell me in months you got it ready. Either y'all already had it ready.
No, it's not a vaccine. They had to change the definition of the term.
That was a video.
Yes, they had to change the definition of a vaccine to make this work. Because in real life, if the vaccine was truly a vaccine, we would not need masks.
Right, exactly.
At all.
Why do you need a mask?
You still need a mask because it's not a vaccine.
But people are so proud. Like, we went to water aerobics and we, nobody has a mask on. I mean, we walked in with our mask on, which I thought was like, okay, we got the mask on, about to be in the water. So I put mine on my head. But as soon as we stepped in the water, it was like, well, you can stay by me because I got my vaccination. Because now it's a badge of honor. The lady at a restaurant,
they're starting to give out the cards, and if you have a vaccine card, you get like free donuts on this day.
You are bright. Did anybody? My mom posted this on her Facebook, and Saturday Night Live, I guess this past weekend, did a skit where they were talking about there was a black panel on the Little Jeopardy show, and they were talking about, okay, the host was like, if I give you $500 and you take the vaccination right now, you gonna take it? And they gave all the parodies of the black folks, but I'm like, you're playing on us, right? Because you're dangling money and what we think we value to get us to do something, and I'm like, oh my God, and you're making a joke out of the disparity. Y'all just going to negate the whole fact that you experimented on us, but they got us thinking that money is our answer, and that okay, because everybody on Instagram got the Gucci belt, like somebody bought $800 Gucci socks because you need those socks that's gonna have a hole in your toe next week. It don't matter. So what they'll do is they'll keep trying to trick us. And if we keep falling for the trick, then that's how the masses will go. Yeah. And the masses, and because we are all trusting and everybody is fearful, everybody be like, COVID is real. No, I died from the COVID. Sometimes you just die because you're old.
Right.
Sometimes you just die because your system is compromised. And because if you did get the virus and you have other mitigating factors, then your body is not well enough to take care of just that virus. That's the same thing as a cold.
Which means
it's the same thing as a flu.
In many respects, anything could kill your ass.
Anything.
And that's not to say you're going to die from any and everything, but what we're saying is that if you're already mucus filled, y'all know I'm with the CMOS, so mucus is the devil. Right. If you're already mucus filled, then you're already, on top of it being low vitamin D season, which is winter when you're not really synthesizing, that your immune system's already suppressed, which makes you susceptible to everything. So if you're fat, if you're unhealthy, if your liver don't work, if your kidneys don't work, and your body cannot ward off disease, you on the chopping board anyway. It's just a matter of what's about to come along.
And it don't matter what it's called. It could be called COVID. It could be called...
And even in that time, they're still labeling everything as COVID.
Everything.
Like, literally, you could go in there and be like, I think my toe is broken.
You got a COVID symptom. You got a COVID symptom. We can't have anybody here that's displaying... I wanted my son to be examined. I wanted him to have an x-ray of his lungs for asthma or some type of examination for asthma, because when he would run, he would afterwards, and I was like, where you get this shit from? Your daddy give me that milk. But I was like, I wanted him tested, and she was like, well, I'm just gonna send if it's a cough, he can't come in. So unfortunately, she didn't even say unfortunately, she was just like, I'm gonna send a inhaler of a steroid, and you give it to him before he will be running around, and then you see if that makes him not cough. But lab rat my 3-year-old.
But that's what I'm trying to say.
Oh my gosh.
It's all an experiment. Okay, so when you go into these offices, they're just
trial and error. They're trial and erroring because they're like, well, these are your symptoms. Do that with yourself. This is what could work for it. We're gonna look at you. We're gonna assess how much you can take. And then that's what we're going to
And once again, they're just masking a symptom anyway.
Yeah, so we're trying to stop the coughing. I wouldn't know that it was actual, like asthma. So, I mean, we never picked up the inhaler, obviously. And I was just like, you know what? I remember listening to Anthony Hamilton, who had dire... y'all know I love music, and I love what you call them, interviews. And he said that he had very bad asthma as a child, and his mother flushed it with water. So he was like, I just drank a lot of water and I don't have asthma no more. So I thought of that, and I was like, you know what, Jax, you on a water regimen. You getting water, alkaline water, black seed oil water. I'm giving you all the water all the time. And so every morning when he would wake up, I would make him drink like 16 ounces of like elderberry, black seed oil, lemon water, whatever detoxing type of situation I felt like he could muster at the time. Right. I would give it to him to stop the coughing, and he's not doing it anymore. Go fucking figure. I threw away the mozzarella cheese strippies that I would let him enjoy from time to time.
adamant about no milk, gave his dad the milk I wanted him to have, and was like, look, we got to tighten up because he could be developing asthma. Like, these diseases are not, this shit do not run in my family. Yeah. So that means we're making it.
Yeah. And it really is, it's a case by case. So, you know, people are out there, because people on my thing, like, we're giving incorrect info and people disagree. And what it is that there might be something, you know, it is, to quell everybody, it's something out there. It could be, right? They are making it more than what it is, right? And that's the propaganda of it. That's really what you have to understand. Like, everything right now, and COVID could be real as shit. Right? It could be something that's making you wrong. The problem is the propaganda that is going with it. So we don't, you know, you don't have to deny that you got sick and you died from it. You got sick, you died from something, right? Mm-hmm. But what is happening is they're inundating us with information that they don't really know enough about, right? You're giving us a vaccination that you haven't done enough trials on. You haven't done, and then what? And if there are people that are on a list, they're like people that say, I will voluntarily take it. I will put myself up to be the lab rat. Let those people take it. And let's see how it works with them first before you give it to everybody. Because what you're not going to do is set up a FEMA type situation at the Wolstein Center to usher everybody in to get it. That is the problem. I think it's not a matter of if you get sick and if that's the sickness is real or not. The fact is that you're forcing people to do things even when they're well. Mm-hmm. So if I'm healthy and you're making me wear a mask, then you're telling me I don't trust myself and that I should trust you more. Yeah. That's the problem, right? And because we're so reliant on the system, we're okay with saying, I'll do it.
Yes. And other countries, and before you get on there and say she's wrong or I'm wrong or we're wrong, let's just lay it all out, because I'm real fact. Mm-hmm. COVID-19 is a strand of a virus, right? It's a virus. Once you have it, it's kind of like a disease. Viruses are diseases, really. But anywho, it's not the point. This is the point right here. Viruses have a lifespan. Ebola, E. coli, the SARS, they have a lifespan. The lifespan is about 9 months or so. After that, it kind of just does its own thing. It mutates on its own, and you really don't ever have to do anything about it. Did you need a vaccination for SARS? Did you need a vaccination? No. They contain shit, and then it goes away. COVID was not contained because the United States could not get on a one beat, one sound. In Mexico, in DR, and other countries, they was beating your ass and making you stay in the house. They was putting you in jail. They were doing things to control the situation. And in Canada, they were knocking on doors, making sure that everybody that was there was supposed to be there. No one was visiting or no one was leaving. In India, they were in their homes and wherever they live in India. Like, people sat the fuck down. We're the only country who wants all the rights, all the privileges,
as we should,
all the rules. Right, so I was all of this.
What you're not gonna do is make me stay in my house.
No. We want, but listen, that's the thing. We want all of these things, but we also don't want to read and be educated. So, but then when people do things to us, we want to blame them. So, like the person who got it, the nurse that got it, that developed her face twisted up after. Who the fuck made you get it? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And I hate that about us as a people. As Americans, I hate that we're like that. Mm-hmm. We want to be non-compliant and non-educated, and it don't work like that.
No,
you don't want to be compliant. You have to be very fucking educated about what's going on. And if you ain't neither one of them, you got to be passionate about something. No. If you can't prove you right, you better make a motherfucker think you right. Yeah, you gotta be innately passionate about the fact of what you're not going to do.
Yeah, it's
but you can't be ignorant and entitled, and it just don't fucking work. And that's why we having like all this beef.
And it's hard right because now. You'll fight about it because it's a slippery slope. Because here's the thing, like, we are entitled as people, right? That is our right. So you telling me I gotta stay in my house is like, okay, I hear you. Like, you're trying to control the situation, but if I feel that I'm well and I feel that I'm doing the things to keep my family well, then that sounds like y'all issue out there.
I promise you.
And it sounds like I don't have to prescribe to that if I don't want to, because that's not how I live. I don't follow the rules of your system. I lessen myself. I don't follow your healthcare policies. I don't really want to, do all the things that you say that I have to do. So when I become less reliant on your system, then that's where the battle is, because I'm facing people that are still on your system, that's saying that, okay, well, we have to do it. You got to sit in the house. You got to stay here. Why don't you wear your mask? You're not helping everybody, blah, blah, blah. Well, I don't prescribe to that. So if I don't prescribe to it, then I'm educated on it, right? I'm educated on those things, but you really then can't prescribe. So that's why it becomes an issue of, I probably can't go to the grocery store too much more. I can't go to the Walmarts too much more. And then that lets me know where I have to go look at people within my village that either make clothes, that grow food, have a different form of currency, or, on that barter and trade, because you'll just be in this constant struggle, right? Even with people that are commenting on, where we're disagreeing. What the fact is that if I have my own rights and I follow that and I feel like I'm doing well, then I can't prescribe to everything that everybody's doing. And that's really what it boils down to. It's either you're going to prescribe to it or you're not. And you're going to educate yourself or you're not. And then at the end of the day, you do what is best for you. If you think that you got to put your mask on to go somewhere, put your mask on.
If you think you need a vaccination,
all I need you to do is that when I get somewhere, don't talk to me. If I'm walking through the store, me and my children have a mask on, I don't need you to say nothing to me about what you got going on, because I'm not listening to the same shit you're listening to. I don't watch the news, so I don't want to hear about the 20,000 cases that came, because I don't know, because we were watching the Baby Shark, okay, or whatever it was, or we're reading and we're studying.
We're happy.
I don't know, and I don't even know what the algorithm is that, because it'll shut any child up. Like,
I know.
Listen to
I
it.
literally no. I swear to you,
right?
it took me so long to even let my son even hear it, because I was so paranoid, because I was like, it just puts kids in such a trance. Like, what are y'all about to play this on 18 years from now so my kid can be on some BS?
Exactly, but that's what's going on with the music as well, because we are getting played throwbacks to us, so we can sit here and tune into the words that are being given. Like, we are eating it up. But that's a whole nother story. But so I really wanted to know, like, everyone individual opinion, because we heard other people. But to go back to cannabis and pregnancy, obviously, I already think I know your answer, but how do you feel about it? Like, would you do it?
No. Right. But why now? So I'm a new no. Okay, so before I was a hell no. And right now I'm just a new no. Why? Is because honestly, I have so many other self-soothing methods that I will say that I am open to considering it now after being educated, but I'm just never going to think that I'm going to need to buy something as expensive as cannabis to do what I need to do. I feel like
you could grow it.
I could grow it. I might. But I could get like a $3 sage and like a $2 Palo Santo, and I could just do what already works for me. Y'all know I got that little oil that makes me happy. So I think that I have, and just in life in general right now, that I have a really good handle on my anxiety, on my stress levels. I don't know how that would change with hormones, because hormones are a motherfucker. But I am open to the idea of it now. But I'm going to drink my lemonade one day. In the next month.
Within the
month. I'm going to drink my lemonade, and I'll let y'all know how that went. But yeah, it's just one of those things for me. I'm still learning how to experience without fear.
Yeah.
That's a good answer.
So I am still fearful of becoming a crackhead. I think about it every day of my life. I'm scared of it. So I'm always afraid to become addicted to anything. And that's a real crack. That's a real thing. I just say that. But crackhead don't mean just crack. It just mean anything. It just means me being able to put a dependency on something.
Right.
I'm just real leery of those types of actions. I would hate to try something and love it as much as I used to love Ciroc. So, Ciroc, baby. But yeah, so I'm open to it, but I'm not just gonna go light up tonight or nothing. I haven't been that inspired.
That's real.
Really. I love y'all for it. I ain't there yet. I'm cool.
You don't have to be though.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Yeah, no. But like I said, I do I'm thoroughly educated, and I have a completely different understanding, and I can look at the situation with no judgment, and I can look at the situation with no negative connotation because I'm educated. And it just gave me something else to hate the government for, honestly.
Yeah.
That's
all that labeling and propaganda, it just gave me something else. So I'm with it.
I'm personally for it. I just say that like anything, you just have to be mindful of how you're using it, what you're using it for, and really listening to your own body and how you react to it. Because even if it is like you were saying, like you might be able to face a blunt or two when you're, you know, not carrying, and then you get pregnant and it's like, okay, I can't handle it the way that I can. That's okay. You shouldn't feel like you have to indulge, but whatever works for you. I'm gonna be blazing up the next one.
I'm on a pregnancy by pregnancy basis with it. If I feel I need it, I'll use it. I don't plan on being pregnant right now, so I'm cool with taking it to the face when I need to. But if I get pregnant and I need it, then it's in my arsenal.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm definitely for it, but my first pregnancy, I didn't really smoke anyways. Like, I wasn't in, like, that stage of my life, so I didn't do it because it's just not something I was doing anyways. But now, since I use cannabis, I feel like I would definitely continue to use it, especially if it was helping me with, like, morning sickness or anything. Like, I would definitely just, like everyone else said, listen to my body and my intuition, and you know if something like feels good, like if you're doing the right thing for you. Like, you can just listen to that and know what you need. So definitely just tuning in and feeling it out.
Yeah, same. I agree. I think as we discussed, I came to a more comfortable idea that obviously, like, it will be like a intuition and, you know, like a connection to, because I personally feel like when I did try it when I was pregnant, it wasn't as pleasant because I personally believe my Era didn't like it. She didn't agree with it. But I also feel like that's because in the act I didn't agree with what I was doing.
So that uncertainty.
Yeah, because I don't know, but when I was breastfeeding, all I could think about was all my thoughts are going to her, and she about to like she could hear them, and she gonna feel them and become this. That's when I start realizing I'm really transferring to her. I'm like, dang, because it's not even a matter of watching what I do. It's like I was feeding her. But anyway, so
that's so real.
Yeah,
because when we were talking about something with the diet, I was thinking that when we said, I forget, something about the schools and the food, and my son, you'll hear him tell kids, don't drink that chocolate milk, it's not healthy. And he says that to other kids.
That's so good though.
And when I tell him no to something, he's like, Mommy, can I have some of those candies? And I'm like, no. He's like, it's not healthy. And I'm like, no, it's bad for me. Yeah. It's gonna rot my teeth. Yeah. And like, he knows all these things.
So many questions. He's so cute.
My son's funny. But when I was trying to get him to latch, I would talk to him and I'd be like, you gotta eat it, you gotta do it, you gotta. No, I've literally been telling him what he needs to do for his survival and my peace of mind his whole life. And it makes him like, he's like, is that avocado you eating? Is that dragon food? Like, and he's like, with it, dragon. He's not saying it like that. But he eats all my bougie snacks. Can I have some of those green peanuts? Pistachios. My son can eat a pound of pistachios. If he like, but I've learned to just let him experience those, what I consider to be finer things. And when I was your age, son, I ate peanuts with the shell on. So it's like, you're bougie baby eating pistachios. So it's like, but that's literally the language I've been speaking to him. I've been speaking bougie organic foods to him since he was a kid, and I thought about that a couple weeks ago, and I was like, I literally made this kid to the point I posted on my Facebook, I had put some green cold pressed juice in with like some strawberry juice and water to just kind of give him some extra nutrients. And when I was like, I'll taste it, I was like, watch, he ain't gonna know, y'all. I gave it to him. He's like, I was like, is it good? He was like, yeah. I'm like, is it yummy? He's like, yeah, it tastes like a smoothie. So he did taste the kale and stuff in it. But my son knows what a smoothie tastes like. Yeah, he know the difference between a smoothie, a slushie, a parfait. He already knows. And it's like, at 3, that's important. Because when he goes to school, he, to a certain degree, will tell them if he don't want to eat it, he'll tell them that he can't eat it. And that's powerful to have children that can advocate for themselves in your absence. Yep. I forgot where we were going with that. Yep. But yeah, I just threw that out there. Oh, speaking to your children, speaking life into your children when you're feeding them, especially through food. It's the one language. Food and music are the two core things that we are always going to transfer from generation to generation. You're going to pass down those recipes. You're going to play those throwbacks. So you got to be very, very careful about those types of things that you expose your child to. Like telling your kid, everybody want to teach Granny's macaroni recipe that clogs arteries, to put Granny under. But we don't want to teach healing indigenous things. You know what I'm saying? We don't want to learn the rituals that Granny had. You know what I'm saying? So it's like those things, those earthy things, those more out there things are what's more important than those
things that make
dreadful
us.
That make us.
That is who we are.
Right. And recipes don't make us. Like a lot of things that we have, a lot of habits that we have come from a lack mind state. Things we eat now because we couldn't eat when we were slaves. And we was never slaves. Like, we were never slaves. So, like, why are we still eating chitterlings? Why are we still eating pig scraps?
Yeah, that's a whole.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that's a whole.
Because I'm just saying, and even on that conversation, I kind of ended here. Because even when people talk about I don't want to eat slave food, I was like, but your ancestors grew all that food. They prepared all the food. They knew what to take that they were given to then put into the pot that would give you extra nutrients. So, you always got to honor. I tell people, you're honoring where we come from. Yeah. So, you don't have to eat the pig entrails and all that other stuff, but honor why they were doing that. Yeah. Why did your great-grandmother put that in there? She didn't put the ham bone in there so that you could eat the ham, but there were certain nutrients in that ham at the time that you needed when you were out there all fucking day in a field. Right? So we have to honor those things, and then we learn. As we learn better, we do better. Right? We, make better choices, and that's really what it's about. You, at the end of the day, you're going to do you and what's best for your family, what's best for you when you're pregnant, and just be informed when you do that. Research doesn't just come from Google. It comes from being around other people. Go back, I talk to my mother all the time. I have videos that I've taken of my grandfather before he passed, and he would talk about farm life. Even with dementia, there are certain things that we will remember that we were still passing down, and we have to take those, especially in midwifery. I'm so big on that. I am a traditional midwife because that is what we are as women. That is what we are as a culture of people, and they're trying to take that away from us and make us into this new age. We got to do it on this guy, and I'm like, we have to preserve what is traditional to us and what is our practices, and I have to teach my daughters that because it's important. Because some of them, I know she go to Howard and stuff like that, but sometimes I feel bad that I didn't give them everything that they needed right then. So it's a lot of tell you now. She'd be looking at me like, really, is that why are you wearing the white today? And I'm like, well, that's a spiritual thing, right? What do you mean? What are you talking about? Right? So it's a matter of it's a constant educational process that we're in, so that our children who will be here and then their children will know better and do better.
I just want to say how much I talk about you. I brag about you because during my birthing experience, this is my doula. Then I also had a midwife. But these two women were amazing. They helped me stand in my power because, sometimes when you're pregnant, you're just so sensitive. Again, I just keep saying that. So sometimes you have to be reminded. And so
you need to be
everyone,
supported.
Please participate and experience her services because when you're pregnant you remember everything, so that's when right so that's when you were a part of my tribe.
And I'll even share, I remember and I don't even know if it was called Promises to Care at the time. No. But I remember sitting in the living room and I was like, and I found a book in the dumpster. And it was that, I don't even know if you still have it.
I do.
Yep. And I remember her saying, so and I was like, if that's what you want to do, you need to do that. Like, you need to make it pop. And I am so proud. Every time I feel like I'm so proud of my, she always asks me, look, my daughter's looking like, that's the girl? Because she'll be like, I'm running out of oil, or I've spilled it before. Yes. Okay. And I tell, because I use it on her, my daughter, the baby girl, I put some on today before I left. And I was like, because when you find what it is that you can do to support your family, I encourage that. And I remember sitting there, I was like, you better do all of that. I was like, I found a book in the dumpster, girl. I don't even know if it'll help you. But man. That is what you do, because that is when we connect like that, and everything is divine. I tell all my clients, because I have clients that, you know, people that will come in and like, we really don't fit, you know, and I tell people everything, if you find me, it's a divine timing. And it's not because you saw me some plaster somewhere on TV, or you saw me on a podcast. It's because the universe led you to me. And the universe led me to you.
Back to people.
It will lead you back, because you walked in the door and I was like, and I'm not even there anymore, because I'm such a rebel. Right? And I'm like, you know, quiet as a cat, they probably think I stole diapers or something like that. That was probably the rumor. But it's just because my, you know,
I barely ever went, but I was always engaged. But, you know, my schedule at the time, I was one of the working pregnant people. So I didn't go to as many other things, but I'll never forget you teaching us about food and Tai Chi. And it was like, that was like my first experience. You had all this crazy hair back then. I was
my hair was
I was
wild.
like, she with the shit.
And I am. And that's a part of just who I am as a being. Like, that's why I can't go to the hospital with clients anymore, because I be with the shit like immediately. Like, we ain't about to do that around here. Fuck this, fuck you, blah blah blah. It's probably best I just stay at home, because, you know, I'm not trying to go to jail. I cannot eat your meals. So but I am, you know, in gratitude, you know, along the way, and all the people that are on the journey, because it is a village, you know. And I look at Era, and she is amazing. I'm like, oh my God, I love her, you know, even though she's a little Gemini. I'm like,
I know.
But so I appreciate it, and I appreciate you for having me come on, because, you know, nobody wants to talk about it, and it was a good, healthy discussion. So you know, people know where to find me, you know, in life. That's where I'm at.
And during every episode, we have a tea moment. No, hard pill to swallow.
Skip me. Give me a minute.
But I think I got mine.
Okay.
Truth be told, you can't always trust a medical profession. Like, that's just it. Professional.
Hard pill to swallow.
It is a hard pill to swallow, because you think that these people in uniforms know what's best for you. But that is a lack of trust that you have for yourself. And that was my biggest lesson during pregnancy, was to surrender and trust myself. Now I'm ready now, but I had to learn that through my whole experience. So trust yourself, and just trust yourself. Period. And know that you have the answers to the way things are supposed to be for you. Yeah. That's,
deep. I didn't think of one. I didn't know where to do it.
No. Oh, yeah. You was saying
what do we do? What do we do?
No, but usually
we can group on that one.
I was going to say, that's what I was thinking anyway. Just like the whole intuition thing comes to mind. Like, you have to learn to listen to yourself and trust yourself.
Yes.
Because, like, you know what's best for you.
Yes. I agree.
Like, that's really...
A hard pill to swallow is that for as passionate as you are about your light, there is someone as equally as passionate about their dark. So for every fact that you can give somebody about a vaccine or a mask or this, they're going to be able to come with their own notion about it, and you got to be okay with that. You just got to be okay with it.
But so I guess because
that was a good
awareness,
discussion.
education. I think that's what's important, like, to grow and to learn.
Oh, look at all the love. I know we get a lot of love.
We had a few questions pop up in here. I did see one. I saw a few questions about Metro Hospital, questions about the position for giving birth. I'm going to get those answers for you guys, and I'm going to go on the live, and I'm going to answer your question under your answer in the live. So I'm not in the thread. So look for your answer within the next hour. I do want to answer all the questions that were typed in here. As usual, we got into some rabbit holes, but it would not be the Venus Exchange if it didn't get a little deep.
And anybody can ask me questions. So if you want to inbox me on Instagram, my personal page is 5 like the number dives in, because that's what I do.
Wait, can I say something?
Yeah.
Okay, so while she got here, right? Like, I asked for the time, and it was 5:55. So you already know what type of time we on. Yep. So I just gotta say that. Okay.
Yep. So you can catch me on Instagram, 5.in. And then my page that I use all my healing and naturopath is Kuumba, KUUMBA_healing. On Instagram, and then I answer questions. So
it's the do not disturb, right?
Yeah, I got do not disturb because I am entering another phase.
I just put them in the in the thread. So it's under Naturally Me. You'll see 2 @. Those are her personal @. If you have any particular questions, ask them there.
Yeah, this was amazing.
If you have any general questions,
it didn't make it into 30 minutes with me. Like, I was like, I can't stop.
Yep. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. So, new moon. I'm posting up, hopefully at the beach, with my lemonade, and I'm just going to be one with the earth. I'm going to do some grounding, and I'm going to do some elevation. I will let y'all know how it goes. So
plant work, plant magic.
Period. Something gonna happen.
This was a good conversation.
It was. Yeah, but until next time, guys, thank you so much for coming and having this conversation with us.
Thank you.
Love and light.
Peace.